Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by sourcevibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I will always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
You have entered into a dimension of truth, where time does not exist and illusions are shattered. The journey of truth is intense. The journey of truth will set you free. Consider this a warning as you enter the dimension of truth uncompromised.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is Thursday, January 30th. We have a great show planned for you. We are continuing with our series, The Real Pilgrams, The True Story of Immigrants Coming to America, Part 13. So if you haven't joined us for this series, if this is your first time, I would highly recommend you go back and listen to the archives. You can catch them on Blog Talk Radio, and then you can also catch them on YouTube as well. So last week, we got into our continuation with quote, quote, founding father, Thomas Jefferson, who they call founding father, whatever. And you're going to see in this series that everything that they teach of how America was founded, none of it is the truth, on down to slavery. Who was really involved in slavery, who were the actual slaves, on down to the king rulership. So everything literally has been told in reverse, okay? There were many more Caucasian / white slaves in the Americas. They were calling them indentured servants. And the melanated folks that were in slavery were either already here, which they were calling, or they are calling, the Indians, and not the ones that are being classified today as the Indians. But it was the original melanated copper-colored people who, if they were slaves, fit that category, or this is the earth-shattering part about all of this, or they were also banished over to the American shores, fleeing Europe, melanated folk, all right? Because the seat of power back then were held by melanated people. So all of those kings that they talk about in Europe, the Henrys, the James, all of those jokers, King Charles, and I'm not just talking about in England. I am talking around the world, okay? So that's including Germany, that's including Spain, that's including France, that's including Asia, that's including Russia. All of those seats of power were held by melanated nobility who were warring with each other for territories to colonize for the purpose of profiting. Okay, so as the rulership started changing and those kingdoms, those melanated kingdoms, were warring with each other, taking over each other's territory, the mass migration of melanated Europeans started hitting the shores of America and the islands. Okay, so it is a high chance, if you are in the Americas and you are of copper-colored hue, your lineage ties to the American land as the original people, and or back to Europe. Okay, so that is another reason why it is important for you to know who you are, research your heritage, and get with your ancestors to get your lineage. All right. So in the meantime, the founding fathers, as they're calling them, who are the Caucasians, the Thomas Jeffersons and the Andrew Jacksons and a lot of these other cats that are credited with founding the quote, quote, Americans, they were on the come up. So meaning they were either placed in those positions by some connections that they had, and let's be clear, their connections had to be of someone from that melanated black nobility camp. And some of them literally came from poverty, served indentured servant sentences, all right? So they placed them in those positions because, number one, the European black nobility, their folks did not want to come to the Americas to deal with any of this. So, hey, why not send folks that you consider of lower service to go over to the Americas and deal with that swampy wilderness? Because that's what those black nobility thought of the Americas, but they knew that it was a lot of resources here. Okay, so that was the opportunity for the Caucasian race to come up out of poverty. All right, so we are seeing that even these founding fathers, all of this ideology of the nation that they wanted to build for the America, all that shit is false. It was about to come up for themselves, okay, and to stay in favor of the nobility or those kingships to make sure that they could keep benefiting, all right? And what we also discovered as we went through a great example, the original charter of the state of Georgia, which was issued by King George, that it was strictly about business. The people were not taking into account at all. And we are seeing this continuous theme even with the founding fathers. The people are secondary, okay? The people are to be used as a tool on the behalf of those European thrones for profiting. So literally the people were looked at in the aspect of livestock, all right? So I hate to hurt some feelings from the Caucasian perspective. They were mainly speaking on you, okay? You were only viewed for the purpose as livestock to clear the land, to do the labor, etc., and to have children for the purpose of profit, okay? But they did see an opportunity that if they could bring the Caucasian race out of poverty, that they could create a middle class and, in essence, run the Americas, okay, which essentially, of course, we know has happened, okay? So we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to finish up Thomas Jefferson tonight, and then I also want to get into the next person is Andrew Jackson, and he was a mother effer. So the source of this particular series, we're using two books, White Trash, The 400-Year Untold History of Class in America by Nancy Eisenberg, and then also the second one, They Were White and They Were Slaves, The Untold History of Enslavement of Whites in Early America by Michael A. Hoffman II. So with that said, I am going to bring on my co-host. I see Brother Sean and I see Sis. Let me bring on Brother Sean. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Wholeness and power, sis. I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. It is good to hear your voice.
Likewise. You know it's...
All right.
What's going on?
Yeah, you know we're going to have...
Got me a big tub of popcorn.
I know, right?
I'm just saying I got a big tub, yeah.
Yeah, you have to keep it stocked, basically. You have to go re-up. It's so much dramatization going on. So, yeah, let me bring in Sis Sandra. Peace and love, Sis. How are you?
All peace and love to you, Rhonda, Sister Rhonda. I'm just fine, thank you. And Brother Sean, how are you?
Wholeness and power, sis. I'm
good to hear it. And the family and all those who are in the chat room.
Indeed. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead on with the fucking. I'll start with you, Sis. Go ahead. Yeah.
There's a couple of things. I saw Harry and Meghan's documentary yesterday, and I got two things I want to talk about. And one of the things is that they mentioned, like you're mentioning, that everything was here in place when they got here. the slavers, the conquerors, and everything. Do you know in that documentary that what is that? The Buckingham Palace, or what do they call that thing? Do you know they don't even know how to? It's still the way it was before. They haven't tried. Of
course it is.
Yeah, and leaking roofs and everything because they really don't know how to do anything.
They don't know how to repair that stuff. Nope.
Because they were not the ones who put it there. So I was listening to that last night, and I said, that is so interesting, And they said something about Megan asked for some scents, smells, refresheners for the place where she got married, and they took offense to that because she asked that they put some air fresheners in there because it was musty and old. So
smelling like mildew and mold, basically, and they gonna get a damn attitude.
Yeah, and so they get an attitude because they don't know how to take care of what's not theirs. If you had masons, everything who made that stuff, then you'll know what to do with it. And
why do you think they haven't rebuilt any of that stuff? And that's not only over in Europe, that's here in the Americas. I literally, it's funny that you mentioned that. I literally went out and looked up the oldest buildings in the city that I'm in. I pulled it up. The oldest one was like 1835.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it's just so happened in my office. I looked across. I said, "God damn, there go the building right there." I could literally see the building they were talking about. But all of the oldest buildings were like in the 1800s, the mid 1800s, early 1900s, and you look at the architecture of it, and it's Greek and Roman building. These people cannot recreate that stuff because they didn't build it.
Right, and so they got mad at her, and the press started taking her down, till she ain't nobody but from Compton and ghetto blasting and all kinds of stuff. And I was looking at that, I said, and how she's not geared to be a princess and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's really crazy when she's the real deal. So anyway, that's what I was looking at. But this is what I want to talk about. That part of the mess that, goes with your study. But I don't know how dumb they think people are. But we must be really stupid if we think that they are alerting the whole world over the coronavirus where only 50-some people died. We had more people die here of the flu than there. But, and according to their statistics. But I'm sure I'm building 2 hospitals in 4 or 5 days if only 50-some people die. That is so retarded.
That don't make sense, does it?
It don't make sense, and I think they think we're stupid. Well, maybe we are. But, it just doesn't make sense that they're making all this fuss, stopping everybody that gets on the plane and everything, if it is that minuscule of people dying in a sea of billions of people. That's crazy.
Well, they have on that virus, so, I mean, this is hard. It ain't rocket science. Just do a motherfucking you can find the patent. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
You can find the patent. And let me tell you something else. I said something the other day, last week when I was talking about it. I said it's Mongol. They're Mongols. And you said, what? I said, just think about that. So when I went to look it up, in the early 2000s, like maybe I think the day I saw was 2005 and 2013, they were experimenting on monkeys with that virus. So what's that R1B1? Monkeys.
Well, child, That's on them. They can do what they want because the sad part about it, yeah, they're creating it or they created it, but what they named it is still code.
It is.
Also for the activity that's going on with the actual sun. So.
And then I'll give you another concept.
Yeah.
Cro-Magnon man. The man that's part monkey, part Neanderthal.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of things they're doing, and it started over there because they eat monkey brains and stuff like that, and it's just a lot going down because they're not really telling the fact that it was manufactured for particular people. I think that's what I'm saying.
Well, I think they're releasing these viruses because they're going to try to play the card of cover up as all of these cover up as all of these natural events are rolling out. And again, I ran across an article. I'm going to have to try to find it. I just got busy this week through some information that says Cheryl has sent me what this dude said because of the poles reversing this, that, and the third, and the activity of the sun, that the rate of flu is going to rise. A lot of deaths are going to happen because of that, because people's immune system is going to be out of whack. He just named a list of stuff. And so, they're going to use that as a cover for what is really going on like they always do. Okay, but in the meantime, we done had all these damn earthquakes. It seems like every day you wake up, it's a fresh new earthquake.
I think there was one under me. That's what they said. So
it was one in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And then the next day it was another one somewhere else, and we're talking substantial earthquakes. I think Puerto Rico got it again. So I mean, it is what it is. We know what time it is. These poles are rapidly shifting, and with that comes extinction events.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So they're going to use whatever they can to not tell the truth about that.
And it's not even the Ring of Fire that's having the most earthquakes, because the Ring of Fire is over here in the Pacific area. It's in areas that's not part of the Ring of Fire.
Exactly.
And they can't explain that one, can they? They don't.
Right. Shout out to the chat room, Left Lane, Chantelli Meyer, G.D. Thompson 42, Scotty Saturn, and Woke Sister. So Left Lane goes, they say the incubation time for Corona V is 28 days.
They say it's infectious before the incubation period is done.
No, okay then.
So
28. Okay. Well, 28 days later is a 2002 British post-apocalyptic horror film directed by Danny Boyle, written by Alex Garland, and starring Cecil Murphy, Naomi Harris. So they basically named a film 28 days later. Oh, okay then. Okay.
Wow, but they find out they don't even have the 28 days they thought.
Okay.
That one. And so, maybe they just did themselves in and they don't realize how much they actually did their own selves in when they created that madness. Plus, did you see the update on the sun? It looked like Cracker Jacks. They say now they
it's
have.
just at this point, I'm number one. What they showing as the sun ain't no damn sun. Let's start with that, because you're not gonna show me something white distorted in the sky. Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
Come.
Where'd you go?
They can come with that. I'm sorry. Do better with that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
No, they cut you off or something.
Yeah, you
Okay, I may have to switch. So, Brother Sean, go ahead on with the fuckery. I'm gonna switch devices.
Okay. What the Democrats are doing right in front of people's faces. I'm against the system, so I'm not for Trump, but I'm watching what's going on. And for everybody that wants to do paperwork, you're going to have to go to court, and you're going to have to deal with these same type people who show you they don't give a fuck about the Constitution. They don't give a fuck about shit but what they want. Period. They sitting right up here lying. They at the point where they name calling. These people genuinely hate that man. There's hate going on. This ain't the same old political game we used to. It's scripted, true enough. But this shit's scripted with emotion. And if you noticed, a lot of shit started happening when Trump's defense team started exposing all the lies. The crimes that the Dems have committed have been the worst crimes against our people. You forget the KKK is a Democratic creation. You can go all the way back to everything that's foul, and it's the Democrats. The Republicans don't get a pass. Like I said, I'm against the system. The system has to go, period. But I just want y'all to pay attention to what's going on. The way that they use the language, the way that they twist things, the way that they're repetitive about certain points. You can sit up and see how they program you if you step outside your emotions. You get to see the system expose itself if you're watching without emotions. You watching the best in their game, go at it. Watch and learn who your enemy is. So my fuckery is voting. They're allegedly impeaching this man about getting help from Ukraine to meddle in the election. Obama investigated him before he was even president. Everything that they're accusing him of is the very things that they've done and don't want exposed. I want y'all to pay attention to what's going on, because if you're emotionally caught up in this, when you don't get the outcome that you want based off emotion and programming, you're going to be fucked up out here. And out here doing some stupid shit. A lot of y'all gonna get out here and want to fight and kill and do all this, that, and the other. And that's something you don't even do about your own people. But there's plenty of y'all willing to die for the system. I'm done. Sis? Hello?
I'm still here.
Oh. I guess
She must be
back here.
Huh? Did she go
I
someplace?
guess she's not back.
Okay,
I
sorry.
guess
I
she's
was
not
talking my butt off, but I didn't unmute myself. Sorry about that, because I switched. Indeed, Brother Sean, I want to, Sis Cheryl sent me something. She said human coronaviruses were first identified in the mid-1960s.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go to CDC, and thank you, Sis Cheryl, because you're right. The information is there on CDC.
What happened?
Her phone.
Sorry, if you want to know, that was me again. Mute went on. If you want to know if they patent something, Google it.
Yes.
And then all these diseases and stuff, she's right. Go to CDC. So shout out to Sis Cheryl for that.
So, you know, what I'm... Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
It's well timed, the disbursement of this. But Trump, he actually refused to place us under martial law. A lot of the Democrats were pushing for martial law. And at the time that people worried about this disease, they were going to be confiscating guns too.
Right.
You know, and the monkey part, they always say we're made from monkeys. That's what they say about us. So they've been experimenting on the monkeys, and the monkeys were very contagious and died from it too. So who are they trying to make this stuff for?
They know we don't come from no damn monkeys.
I know they don't, but a lot of people don't know that we don't. The ones they don't.
That's their fault if they don't know.
Yeah, that's their.
You know, I give less than a damn about any of that because again, that's why I say folks should know thyself, and that's including Caucasian people. They need to dig into their own shit and know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And know their DNA makeup. So it's not my concern. I don't give two fucks what anyone thinks and what or who I am. I know what and who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So people can keep playing them fuck games with themselves if they want to. Literally, their lives are depending on it. Okay, and shout out to Purple Pill. I'm glad you brought that up, Purple Pill. Purple Pill says Corona has the same as coronary. Feel me. Now, it's interesting, Purple Pill. I'm going to pull that article because dude in that article also said that what's going on with this shift and the sun cycle is also impacting folks' internal organs, heart, and all of that.
Right. You know, I think Linus said before.
Absolutely, Scotty, Saturn attacking the sun in the body. Yes. So, you know, let people keep bullshitting themselves. That's on them. I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
No, I was just saying, Linus said that as we change, this is going to happen to people with hearts. I think she
sure did.
Yes, she
Yes,
did.
That.
Yep. So let people keep on sitting up listening to television and not knowing who the hell they are, and then they shit is falling apart because I done took and told y'all that Mother Earth or the planet or whatever you want to call her, she has moved the fuck on. So either you got your shit together or you don't. She's moved on. So all of these human games that folks are playing and they want to hold on to motherfucking software program you motherfuckers are working on. I can't even give you Windows 95 at this point, goddammit. The first goddamn version of Windows that came out, most folks are operating on that. And she's beyond Windows 10s and all that. She done came up with some new shit. So again, if folks do not adjust their frequency, they will not be able to access higher realms. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. You don't even fucking use the same phone that you didn't have from 5 years ago, most people. But yet, you want to use the same consciousness. And that shit is crazy to me. And they want to get an attitude with those that say, that's some bullshit, I'm sorry, I'm not in agreement with that, go head on with that. Oh, there you go with that bullshit, with that conspiracy. No, it's not conspiracy, nor is it bullshit. I know how to look at logic. I know how to be in tone spiritually, and I know shit when I see shit, and you can't feed me shit, and neither can they feed me shit. I don't work on Windows 95 and lower, goddammit. I don't even work on Windows 10. That shit is even outdated and too fucking slow for me. So hopefully that's putting it in the context for these folks to get it. They run psyops after psyops after psyops after psyops on folks. And they fall for the shit every time. And it's always the point of, number one, extracting your energy, because emotion is pure energy that these deities or demigods are ciphering from folks. And then while they at it, they distract you from what's really going on. The vibratory changes and shifts that we are literally witnessing. Nobody's paying attention to that. Not the church folks that sit up in fucking church every week and that can read Revelations to you backwards and forth and upside and down and around the motherfucking corner. And they don't even see that what's going on. So it is what it is. It is what it is. They ran another PSYOP Sunday on folks with the Kobe stuff. And shout out, if you all want a very good breakdown of that, shout out to Sis Don Nicole Leon. She has a show on Blog Talk Radio, and she also streams her stuff on YouTube. She did a hell of a breakdown 2 days in a row on that Kobe shit. Another psyop. And folks got a mad attitude about that. Oh, y'all full of shit. That's some bullshit. I'ma start unfriending people. Goddamn it, unfriend on. I personally didn't post it on my page because I didn't feel like the headache and the drama. But literally, folks was fighting motherfucking mad. And in the meantime, those conspiracy theorists, quote, quote, those, quote, quote, woke people that like to start bullshit came with the motherfucking evidence, with the cartoon and all of that shit. This is the same psyops, Windows 95 and below motherfucking technology that they keep playing on the populace. It's the same exact script. It does not vary. And if your frequency is not rising for you to see this bullshit for what it is, you'll just keep looping. You'll keep looping, falling for the bullshit. Keep looping. You think you out of it, but you back to looping, falling for the bullshit. So it is what it is. I'm certainly not going to, a left lane. Yeah, Kobe's pilot barely spoke English. 9P. All I have to do, a left lane, is sit back and wait for them to ramble off some numbers. And I already know, based on the numbers that they ramble off, that it's a fucking psyop. I already know. Clear, cut, point blank, simple.
You know, it's kind of interesting. They always give off them numbers, and it tells the story. You know, and the helicopter crash they did show, it was an old helicopter, and my son and I was trying to figure out if it was true or not, because we saw the cartoons as well, and you know, and the comedy skits on it, and they had somebody shooting it down and all that kind of stuff. And then somebody wanted to say that Mossad or somebody or Jewish people had something to do with it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go.
That bullshit, right? Exactly. I'm like, yeah, okay then. Well, whatever. And you know, I just so happen to know two pilots, and I was motherfucking waiting. Came around that corner. Stopped. I said, you know what I'm about to ask? I know. I said, what's up with them flight records? Gave me the whole rundown. I'm like, I said, okay. Of course, I wasn't going to break down to him. That's some bullshit. But basically, the person said that was an extremely high-risk flight. Extremely high risk. And people will be losing their jobs behind that, meaning air traffic controllers, all of that. Because that flight never should have taken place. I'm like, oh, okay then. Thank you very much.
Just think about this coronavirus. How many people will be put out of business? Cruise ships are already being impacted by it. Airplanes are being impacted by it. There's so many people will be impacted. And this is, I hate to say it, but this is that time where people won't have food and stuff like that because they're cutting out your supply.
Well, I already gave my view on the food. Anytime that you depend on someone to feed you,
you're in trouble.
You get what you get. Yeah, you get what you get. You know, you better know how to get out there and throw something in the motherfucking dirt and make it happen. And better have that something to go out there and throw in the dirt to make it happen.
Well, like I said, they didn't kill the sun. Well, the sun is dead, and they have these simulators, so nothing is growing like it's supposed to.
Right, because the simulators are blocking it, and from what I'm seeing is that because these other people call them planet, I call them energy centers, the new things that are showing up because those dimensions are opening up. So now we're seeing those, multiple suns and multiple planets. They have their own orbit. And so sometimes when they're orbiting on their particular cycle, it is blocking out one of our natural suns. But in addition, sometimes we have even more suns. So, it is what it is.
It is exactly a lame. I mean, come on. Kobe knew the deal with the flying and the risk and all of that, and he is not going to put his baby in danger. Plus, it was another young girl supposedly on there too.
Right.
His young girl's teammate. I just that's just not logically don't make sense to me. All right, so it was a psyop. It was just time for him to exit stage left. His character known as Kobe Bryant. You know, end of story.
Right.
You know, now I don't mind being wrong at all. If he did transition with those other people, to truly provide sympathy, but it just doesn't add up. It's just not adding up. So it is what it is. So let me bring on 661, and then we're going to go into one other follow-up I had for the family, and then get into tonight's topic. But y'all seriously check out Sis Don Nicoleone's show. You can hit up her shows on YouTube, and you can hit it up on Blog Talk Radio. She did 2 shows, and she did an excellent job breaking it down. So that's why I'm not going to go into it all that much, because I don't have to. Shit, she just said all that needed to be said, analyzed, and put a nail in that shit. So go check the sister out. Okay, 661, your line is open.
How you doing, sister? How's everything with you?
I'm good. How are you, beloved?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. I'm going through the BS like everybody else on this planet.
I know that's right.
Solely based on that Kobe thing, you know, you were just discussing as well. You know, my question is, why did they release aviation communication to the public? It's a FAA issue. It's a so-called federal issue, and they had audio on national television of the band discussing the plane going down, or the last communication they had with Kobe, so-called pilot. And that, to me, triggered a response in my head like, yeah, they on that nonsense again. So what they did, I listened to this guy named Rance, and this guy named Tim comes on to his show, and he said it's wetware technology they use. They pull your energies from you. So when you get emotional and you start crying, and all these wiring technologies, the TV, since they videotape you, they can pull your energy from these cameras that they thrive off. And so they make the energies from the bodies and the minds, you know, come to existence, and that's how they thrive to continue to keep manipulating society.
Absolutely. So, and it has to be a certain type of energy, because if they can't fool with the high frequency energy, it will kill them. So that's why they have to create the psyopsis to cipher fear, trauma.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, that makes perfect sense.
You know, and it's becoming comedic, you know, in my eyes. Like, you know, I wasn't listening to it, and then I started like hearing certain things, and then I started analyzing, and I'm like, these fools done pulled the wool over people's eyes.
Again.
I mean,
they do it every time.
And you know what people need to do? Just because they want to play a prank like that, they should go sue their ass for a prank. The FAA should have a federal lawsuit sued for releasing that personal information to the public. Let's see if they like that prank.
Yeah, but you know that those now I don't know which one. I would have to go back to my pilot friend, but those flight communications are public record because the person was and because they're a pilot, they know specifically where to go. But that is public information, and
it's public information. But at the beginning of a death, they have to have consent from the family to even release that kind of stuff. Because if it was a private plane,
so repeat that again. No. You're saying an excellent point. Repeat that again. What you just said. I want you to repeat that. What you just said.
It would have had to be, because I'm in the medical field, and you have to have a consent form or consent of anything to be released in public. And
because that's
you
part
can't
of HIPAA and all of that.
All that stuff. And HIPAA will come out at you and shut your whole entire company down and fine you thousands and thousands of dollars if you release anybody's personal information or anything of that nature. And the FAA should know damn better because
wait a minute now. In the FAA's defense, who said they didn't get the permission?
That's
who
the
said
problem.
that the FAA didn't get the permission?
That's the problem. That's where I'm figuring out where's the problem at. Who let that information out there? Who did?
The family had to, if it's family.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Exactly.
There had to have been some permission for that to be put out.
Exactly. They're not going to take that risk.
They don't. Yeah, they won't take that. And if there's no lawsuit filed against the FAA, you know the damn thing was staged by the family. And even if they do sue them, it's still staged by the family because we know that this stuff is all psyops, and all they do is want to take the fear and the anguish out of people and make people beg for mercy. And another thing, too, with the so-called coronavirus, the Cro-Magnon man, that kind of stuff, it's in conjunction to that terminology. They also have to remember every time the United States signs a deal with China, there's always a virus coming out of China.
How about the super
bird flu, turd flu, dog flu, cat flu, roach flu. Next is gonna be the wind flu. You blow the wind gonna blow.
Right. The breathing flu. Whoop, you took a breath.
Right. So no sooner as this man signs that deal with China, here we go with them flu things again.
Don't forget the years they do it every 20 years or so.
Yeah, they do it in the 20s. I think. Yeah, they did. They did all in the 1920s and the 20 something.
Yeah, and the Simpsons never fail because people dropped that cartoon on that where a little virus, except it was coming from Japan. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done with all of this crap. These are continued psyops being ran.
Yeah, and they're doing a hell of a job because people don't want to read, they don't want to study, they don't take time to know the essence of life. They just, like even the scriptures say if they could, they will even fool the elect, and they don't even realize that they're the ones being fooled too. So,
absolutely, absolutely, and quite frankly, brother, and this may sound harsh to some, but it is what it is. At this point, people get exactly what they deserve. Because if you're going to sit up and allow television to be your source of truth, you get exactly what the hell you deserve. You get what you deserve.
Yes, very
because
true.
They're not hiding it. In their defense, they're not hiding it.
No, they put it right in front of your face. Like, you guys were mentioning number systems. If you know masonry or anything, you don't even have to be a mason to know masonry.
No,
it's only obvious. Right.
Exactly.
Right. You can look at Dr. Seuss. He tell you all the numbers.
Exactly.
So yeah. And another thing, what Sean was saying too. I'm gonna stop right here, but what Sean was saying, that Democrat and Republican stuff, what they doing is they trying to take the blame off of Clinton and place the blame on Biden. So Biden can take the fall because Clinton ass just left and got a scholarship somewhere at some school or something, became royalty all of a sudden, which we already know she's related to the Queen. But
right.
So all that stuff is just a fallback. And I was telling my mother too. I was saying, matter of fact, Trump probably was the one who behind that damn plan to transfer the power over to Biden to get it off of Clinton, because nobody talking about Clinton no more.
Exactly.
But anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah, it's just
Indeed,
it's just
brother.
all nonsense.
It is. It's some nonsense. It's good to hear your voice, and thank you for that information last week on King Charles. The black melanated king and
the brother,
his black children.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Negroes, as they would say. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So good to hear your voice, brother.
Okay. Well, you go ahead and continue your show. I just had to say that.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right.
Peace and love.
All right.
Oops. Okay. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off on the E and getting your piece
No,
of
Rhonda.
in.
Mm-hmm. That was such psyops. I wasn't even gonna say nothing.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. And the only reason I did say something because I wanted people that, really want to break down of it. I wanted to recommend Sis Donna Coleone's breakdown of it, and she went through a lot of the other psyops also as well to show you how this stuff is it's a pattern. It's a pattern. So, it is what it is. They don't keep throwing everything in the kitchen sink at folk. And the psyops are coming more and more often as the planet keeps shifting. Okay, because they have to keep distracting, and they are getting weaker and weaker. So as she is ascending, her vibration getting higher, and those that are in tune with these things, our vibration is getting higher, and our molecular, cellular, blood DNA structure is getting an upgrade. The other folk or entities that operate at a lower level, they're getting weaker and weaker. So those psyops play a couple of points to help them hang the fuck on. That's all it's doing. It's helping them hang on. That's why they're coming more and more frequently, because they need that energy. So, it is what it is. All right, so.
He was such an idol that you'll have a fight on your hands if you say something about it.
Baby, let me tell you something. I told someone to go on my post. Matter of fact, I deleted it. I said, I don't want that comment on my post. I said, because I don't want to have to deal with these emotional-ass Negroes. That's exactly what I said. I said, I don't want to have to deal with it.
Right.
And true enough, now shout out to the ones that were like, this some bullshit. They can go on up the street with this bullshit, this, and the third. But sure enough, I saw some folks in their motherfucking emotions. And this is the part that tripped me out, the quote, brothers in their motherfucking emotions. And, the conscious community, y'all ain't shit, I ain't no longer a part of it, blah, 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 blah. Y'all always start. I was just cracking up to myself. I'm like, first of all, why would it fucking upset you what anybody thinks? So right there, that shows me where you coming from. I don't give a rat's ass what you think. You shouldn't give a rat's ass what I or anybody else thinks. Long as they not coming on your shit, infringing on you, that's they motherfucking business. So that just shows me people's psyche. I'm sorry, go ahead on, brother.
But they ain't through with Hillary. Biden, he is on downfall. Obama was even trying to distance himself from him when that first happened. Because, they said about, reports back then that they were talking about doing an investigation.
Yeah, but he was a nightmare from the start, from my understanding, because, number one, he ran his fucking mouth too much.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, he was a liability.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Basically, with him running for president, he ran for president simply so that this stuff wouldn't come up at him. They have to try and protect him now because when he goes down, all of them are going down.
They know. Yeah. But is it just me, y'all, or is this supposed presidential election is just some bullshit as far as from the aspect of it really don't seem like nobody is running, or is it just me? I don't pay attention to this shit closely like that. It just seems like from an energy perspective, it's like ain't nobody really trying to run. It's like they like, well, shit, it's the last
they
go
having the
round.
Democratic debates, but they so weak. That's why the focus is on the impeachment. They know that they ain't got nobody to beat Trump.
Okay, well, I thought it was just me. Like I said, I don't follow it, but I'm like, okay, so are they still even,
I haven't seen my one debate
election? Because I don't see nothing really going on. It's like the energy is not there. I just don't think that the energy is there, period, for these presidencies. I just don't see it there. I think they fucked up with having Prez O come in with all of that hope, and they ciphered all that motherfucking energy, and I was one from the beginning. I was in the beginning all in for dude. And once I start seeing what I was seeing in like the second year, I'm like, oh, this is some bullshit. I'm done. But I think that sunk the whole energy of that presidency thing. And I truly believe that Trump card will be the last Trump card. I just don't see the energy anymore. And these young folks, let me tell you something. The millennials and the Zs, no fucks are given. Do you hear me? No fucks are given on their part. They don't want to be bothered. They're in debt. They're not gonna. They don't want to work on these funk ass jobs. None of that. This shit is over. We're literally witnessing yet another downfall of Rome. Literally, we are witnessing it. But no, people think the motherfucking U.S. is exempt. How the fuck is the U.S. exempt? And it's only been in existence for how many motherfucking hundreds of years? When those other kingdoms, at least in they stinking ass defense, existed, 1,000 years at least. But everybody thinks the U.S. is motherfucking exempt. And this shit is on the goddamn decline. It's done. Not on the decline. It is done.
Hey, sis.
Uh-huh.
But back to the Kobe thing. No. It took place in California. Some of the main Democrats caught up in this stuff represent California. All the fucked up districts in California they represent.
California's a mess.
LeBron had just passed him on the scoring record.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I hear from some of my people out there in L.A., he allegedly had been talking about stuff he ain't had no business talking about.
Who, Kobe or LeBron?
Kobe.
Mm.
That I didn't get no details. But
Right.
okay, now Corona dealing with the sun. They started
Right.
At one point, Kobe was the shining star out there.
Mhm. Got you.
He started falling already. All this took place on the day of the Grammys.
Right.
The people are being awarded for performances.
Absolutely, because those Grammys ain't nothing but also it's very ritualistic. Any of those award shows, but yeah, because I'm Rumish. Didn't another famous one exactly? I remember Whitney. I'm like, but you know, motherfuckers just don't be remembering the script. I'm like, goddamn. Come on, y'all. Use your fucking brain. Use your brain. You're not connecting these dots. If we really wanted to, I'm not going to do it because we'll never be able to get through the show. I could take a list of the supposed recent dead celebrities, and I can even go back. And we could piece that shit together. I already know the information. I do my research and see how it was psyops ran. And yeah, some of them truly did perish. Absolutely they did. But some of them, the character they are playing, we keep telling you all, these are roles that they are playing. They sign contracts. And I see, I'm even leave that out. If that's a stretch for folks. I'm even going to leave that out. They have contracts that they have to sign. And when your contract is up, it's up. So are you going to leave gracefully and go sit your monk ass down and live like a civilian? Oh, you don't want to do that? Oh, okay, we got something for your ass. Because when you take those oaths, they mean that shit. They mean it. You ain't getting to the top like that just because. They the one take those blood oaths. And them societies fucking mean it. They're not playing. They mean it. So folks know exactly what they are getting into. So and like I keep telling you all, as we're going through this series, we're showing you how this shit was not set up for your monk ass to benefit. This was set up for them and their folks, not you. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
His helicopter was the only one in the air, allegedly. I mean, they say that he always took a helicopter to practice or to the games when they were local.
Exactly.
There's something he's been doing forever.
For a long time.
So,
exactly.
I can't imagine that if he's flying back and forth to practice and to the game, whatnot, I just can't imagine that's a chartered flight. So, I mean, he had pull and power to plow wind whenever the fuck he wanted to.
Right.
So, now they're going to say that the pilot took a dangerous route that he wasn't supposed to. They released the FAA recordings or the tapes to try and make the shit seem real. You know, that's to really pull people into it that you think you're hearing the last moments of his life.
Right. Because, that's what I was told. And I see you, 727. I'm coming to you. I was told.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I know that's for sure. I was told that by my pilot buddy that listened to the flight recordings and all of that jazz that they did not file an official flight plan. And so that means that the FAA, or not the FAA, whoever the fuck's supposed to be watching them, the air traffic controller people, and it could be the FAA, but whatever the hell.
Unless it was flying below radar.
Well, I'm just telling you what my pilot friend said, that they claimed that they didn't file an official flight pattern.
Flight plan.
And you can flight plan, which you can do that when you're flying privately. And so they didn't start they didn't start checking in, because if they're busy, if air traffic control is busy, then, oh, okay, what the fuck ever. So once they finally checked in, so meaning the pilot finally checked in, that's when this quote recording was going on, and at that point they could not land because there was a lot of other air traffic going on. So they kept circling around and around and around. I forgot how many minutes he told me. I think he said 15 minutes. I don't know for sure. And that's why they wind up in that foggy area. And then, blood wind up hitting the mountain, this, that, and the third. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, all right, so let me bring on Sis Cheryl. Peace and love, sis. How are you?
Peace, love, light, and healing energy to you, family. How are you all? I'm not going to detain you, but, we're talking about Kobe Bryant and the plane. No one's brought up the fact that he's been in a big lawsuit with high-tech pharmaceuticals for the last couple of years about the Black Mamba. Isn't that his name? And they were using that on these supplements that they were manufacturing. There was supposed to be a settlement this month in January, which they don't have to settle with him now. These pharmaceutical companies have not been playing with these people.
They've never been.
He would have stopped them from making a lot of money. They were using his name on their product. But nobody seems to, we're talking about the plane fight. I don't even know how TMZ made the announcement within a half an hour after it happened again.
Exactly.
How did they identify the bodies? The plane was burning. They said fingerprints. Can you get fingerprints from a burned body? How did they determine which body was Kobe's when there were 8 other people on the plane? And it was hours and hours before they could even get to the plane. Right. So we know this is all, this has been planned. These people plan things 20 years in advance.
Yes.
They didn't pick up the body.
They leave evidence. Right. The cartoon was the evidence.
They didn't pick up the body until Tuesday, so they didn't even have it.
They didn't even have it, but they were saying that Kobe Bryant's plane. How do you know it was Kobe's helicopter?
That's true.
How do we know this? How did they know all of this? It's I'm just tired of them with all the bullshit.
No, I agree, sis. And you know what?
I'm going to even add on to what you said. I'm tired of people falling for it. Because they going to be who they going to be. They going to be who they going to be. I'm tired of people falling for it and then get an attitude with others that like, well, yeah, okay then.
When you can see the light.
When you can
and
see
they
it,
rather
it's
keep
plain
you,
as day.
blind to what's going on. They get an attitude with you.
Exactly.
This has been planned. They put him in this position. They knew when they were going to take him out.
Exactly.
And I don't really think he's dead. We don't know whose bodies they claim.
So
you got these bodies burning all over, these boats blowing up and on fire over. Did they need 9 bodies to, give us to cover up what they have done? They did on Sunday.
First of all, these aircraft can fly themselves. So
radar will take you through the fog.
Right. It will.
Radar will take you through the fog. The fog had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, again, it is what it is.
Yes.
It looked like it was a very old helicopter, too, and they said it wasn't equipped with something, to
which
direct it.
Which didn't make sense because, he was used to flying like a multi-million-dollar.
He's been flying for years before he retired.
Exactly.
That's the way he got to the Staple Center for practice and coming home. He's been flying his children also in the helicopter.
For years.
If it were that much fog, he had common sense enough to know, well, we'll wait a little while. I mean, it's foggy in Southern California. I've been there many times. It clears up, about 10:30, 11 o'clock if it's foggy in the morning.
Yeah.
He could have waited, or he could have taken another form of transportation.
Yeah,
so this is just, like you said, a psyop that they're giving us again, along with the coronavirus, which I found out that it's been around. They knew, and on the I sent you a video where on the can of the back of a Lysol spray can, it has that its use is good for human coronavirus.
Oh, wait a minute, sis. Wait, because I don't want to misquote it. I'm going to go watch the video. Are you trying to sit up here and tell me that on the back of the little Lysol can, they're saying Lysol can kill the coronavirus? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and they say it's been there for the last 4 years.
Let me see, I got some Lysol. I'll go check.
Yeah, I got some, too. Oh, okay, then.
The can that I have has the
what is it?
Coronavirus.
Okay. Okay.
Because mine is at least I don't use the spray stuff. I'm allergic to these sprays. I don't use.
Oh, gotcha.
So I looked at it. It did have those viruses. It didn't say human corona, but I have an old can, and I just haven't thrown it out.
Yeah, and I have 2 new cans. So you know what? I can't with them with.
But I did go and Google the label, and it on the back of the Lysol spray can, and it does have that. So the video is not false. It's not fake.
Yeah, and I got 2. I got 3 cans because it was on sale. No, 4 cans because it was buy 2 get 2 free.
I heard they had a video out that 190,000 people have died from the corona.
But I think they're lying to us.
I
think it's all lies.
It
Disney controls the media, all of the media.
Absolutely.
And it's just another movie that they're playing out for us. And just keep your eyes open and don't fall for it.
Yes,
absolutely. Because what folks also have to realize that even with the quote alternative conscious media, they running psyops on that too.
Yes,
they really are. So that's why you have to be up on your game and go within and be like, oh, okay then. All right.
And later on, if we do some genealogy research on Kobe Bryant, we probably found out he's related to Obama and what's the one, Trump, who's going by the name of Trump.
Yeah.
And Clinton and all the rest. They're all like his skin doesn't color doesn't. We know that. You're doing the book on. I'm gonna let you get back to your book.
Yeah.
But these are their children. They're mulatto children, and they're all related. And they're all playing the game. They've been playing this game for hundreds of years.
Absolutely. Hundreds of years. Absolutely, sis.
Well, I'm going to let you continue with your show and get back to the book. Okay, peace and love.
Sis. Well, peace and love. Great to hear your voice. Peace and love.
Thank you.
So that's Sis Cheryl. That's the sis that be dropping a lot of knowledge, and she sends me a lot of stuff that I have incorporated in the show. So she's much valued. So let me go back to 661. And then I got one thing I want to share with y'all, and then we're going to jump into the material, tonight's topic. 661, your line is open.
Okay, one thing, too. She said the most stuff. When you watch the video of the firefighters, there were two firefighters sitting down at the fire scene. They weren't even trying to put out the fire.
What you mean they were sitting down?
They were sitting down. They were sitting by the helicopter, right by it, and they were sitting down. And then they didn't have no equipment of no water, no nothing, no hose, no nothing, no ratchet, no nothing in their hand, right? Then you go further in the video, they had about 20 firefighters. They weren't even looking at the fire. They weren't even putting the fire out.
So a Hollywood set, basically. So a Hollywood set. It was a Hollywood scene. Oh, okay then.
And then after that, they show ambulance that was number 79. We know what that means, right? They show the ambulance come right after. None of those firefighters were putting any water, anything, any solvents. The helicopter wasn't even concerned. They weren't even trying to put the fire out. The fire kept smoking. The plane kept smoking, and nobody did anything. And there was no bodies around that plane, first off, because you could have seen the leg or something. They had it close enough. There were no propellers around there. Don't play me. Did you see any propellers?
It is what it is.
Did you see any bodies? I didn't see none of that stuff. And then two men were sitting there. They were sitting there talking to each other, looking at each other. And they didn't even have no sense of urgency. Now, let me tell you something. If I'm a firefighter, a police officer, or whoever you want to call yourself in this so-called system, you ain't going to sit your ass on your job.
Right.
But anyway, I just had to say that because she said something.
No. Yep.
And then I had to throw that in there real quick.
Yep, indeed, brother. Well, thank you for coming back in and put something on it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Okay. All right, let me go to brother 832. Let me get to you, brother, so you can get yours in. Peace and love, brother. Your line is open.
Rhonda! Sandra! My sisters from other misters! Feathers up!
Feathers up.
Feathers up.
United Snakes of America down! Sean! My brother from another mother! Sitting on Mount Olympus! Throwing them black lightning bolts down tonight!
Indeed, bro.
Speaking of Black Lightning, have any of y'all seen any of that lately? I'll throw a quick
I'm
TV
behind.
review in.
I'm behind.
They got the, I call him the white gorilla, but the albino criminal, the villain.
Yeah.
The sister is borderline drug addict. This is the doctor who is the geneticist that's trying to find a cure for these pod children and the green light drug. She went and synthesized the drug, supposedly removing the addictive qualities and just focused on sharpening the brain cell.
This is Black Lightning's wife, you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then they've had an episode crossover with all the, because you know this is out of the DC universe, the Flash, the Arrow, DC Legends of Tomorrow. They had a crossover event called the Crisis of Multiple Earths, or something to that effect. And they've had all of these characters cross over, including the daughter. You know, really the youngest now has the most powerful. She's almost like, I'm using this to tie in the Corona situation. You notice she almost lights up like a star, right?
Yes, she does. Yeah.
But here's the thought I had with a friend. You know, just a rambling thoughts here. Do you remember Nino Brown, the Taj Mahal, and the criminal enterprise? And I'm saying this in the context of an ongoing criminal enterprise. Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember how he invaded the public housing space of those people?
Yes, he did.
And there was many average working, hard, tax-paying,
Carter homes. But yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, which they call the Taj Mahal for crackheads.
Yep.
Okay. Just hold that in your mind for a moment and think about the context of foreign invasion in your own homeland.
Yep.
Now, where is the line crossed between being victimized and a co-conspirator? Now, if you remember, they gave the white woman a pass at the Patty Hearst Symbionese Liberation Army and called it the Stockholm Syndrome, right?
Right.
In the weighing of karmic debt, and again, I'm not casting aspersions or, condemning our Aboriginal autochthonous ancestors. Actually, their hospitality was invaded. Now, some of them were in collusion and commerce, as you like to point out on a regular basis. But again, let's just for the sake of argument say it was 50-50.
Right.
Before they could do commerce and trade, we opened our arms, our bosom, our household, correct?
That's right. Yes, sir. We let them through the front door.
And they came in and did what?
Pillaged, raped, stole.
That is an ongoing criminal enterprise, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Now, I care less, because Sean, you and I, we're kind of on almost the same lockstep as far as all this shit got to go down. Burn the motherfucker down, like in the wildfires in California and Australia, burn it down. Okay? But indeed, in the process, there's a thing they call casualties of war, is it not?
Yes.
It's a terrible thing. It is a terrible thing being a veteran of the so-called United States military. It is a terrible thing for innocent life to be taken when the criminals escape punishment. Now, I'm not putting this on any of y'all, whether or not you're a religious or a particular spiritual person, but why is it the evil continues to be perpetuated? It's a rhetorical question, but the quote that is passed through Martin Luther King, which I think was actually from the statesman Edmund Burke, it said, the only way, I'm paraphrasing that, for evil to win is for good men and women to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is the nothing in being hospitable? Is the nothing in caring for? You ever heard the song about the snake and the woman bringing the snake in, and, and then warming the snake and nursing the snake in the health, and the snake then bites the woman in the same bosom that she held the snake to? Well, a lot of people don't remember this man campaigning raised that scenario that I just pointed out. And in being one of the few self-aware moments of Donald John Trump, or as Sister Cheryl just said, Trump, Trumpf, which most people don't know, was the name of his grandfather when he ran here from Austria and Germany.
Yep.
was that he was the snake. Now, I told you about how, and the reason why I say the United Snakes of America is because back to our infamous founding father that you love to bring out with the 1751 memo, but he created the logo in the beginning for the 13 colonies. You remember the dissected snake that was in the infinity or the figure 8 position? Mm-hmm. You remember that? Mm-hmm. It was in 13 segments to symbolize the 13 colonies. And underneath that snake design in infinity figure 8 fashion was join or die. Now, you know what infinity means symbolically. When you tie, as you just said earlier about connecting the dots, when you tie Dum Diversas, when you tie all of the papal bulls from the 1100s up until this very day, some written on actual human skin as parchment, stating that all souls on planet Earth are the property of Vatican and Rome, and that this will be in perpetuity. Now, what does in perpetuity mean? Forever?
Yeah, forever, ever. Exactly.
Into infinity and beyond.
Yep, and beyond. Yep.
As the Disney Toy Story clip there, I'm rambling on what I'm saying. To tie all these things together, how contextually all of this is tied together. The imagery, the myth making, the Hollyweird, which is created by Jewish Zionist control. We now have today two, and this irked the hell out of me, listening to Adam Schiff and Alan Dershowitz tell their tale about how great it is to be embraced as an immigrant. You may not have heard that in the actual impeachment trial. In the public record, about how their parents or their grandparents were embraced by this nation.
As indentured servants? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, my bad. Go ahead. 5 minutes ago,
you just said that this was created for who and theirs and not us.
Exactly.
Now, we have been pursuing an agenda called integration for more than 6 decades. To what end? A one-way street. Because you know, every time we can look at housing patterns, public schools, jobs, suburbs, gentrification. When we go out to pursue them, they do what in response? Run the other way. Right? They created charter schools, vouchers, homeschooling as options not to have their children sit side by side with ours. So who is the true American trying to make a more perfect union? And who is the traitor and a treasonous individual trying to keep a house divided? What did Abraham Lincoln say about a house divided? Shall
not stand. Yeah, that's what he said. Oh, and I got some information on him too tonight. Okay. You reminded me. But go ahead, brother.
and they cannot stand us. And what is it they cannot stand most about us? That they suffer melanoma, skin cancer, tanning beds, injecting foreign objects, plastic, silicone, in lips, hips, ass, and tits, to try to what?
Mimic us.
Approximate, emulate, supposedly the sincerest form of flattery, imitation, but you go and string up, lynch, bomb, burn, blow up the original. You come in my house, you take advantage of my hospitality. You feed me Christianity when I had a harmonious existence and spirituality with my own homeland. I am now on the verge of doing what? On subsistence, begging these people through integration, the agenda of integration from the NAACP, and God forbid, Martin Luther King Jr., we supposedly just honored him. a week ago.
Right.
Who said before they shot him in the mouth, I have integrated my people into a bird. I'm paraphrasing now. This is still Perry Belafonte still says to this day, woe to me for integrating my people into a burning house. And how many fires are counting out there on your doorstep in California, sis? 200 and counting?
It is what it is.
And we're running into the house to save them from their self-destruction. Now, and one final thing in parting, again, there are those who are listening possibly who are calling themselves Caucasian. Have you shared something to me that I had to go and watch on a loop and rewind on that Steely Dan video? Do you remember, if you still have that up and queued up, could you pull out that part where he talked about the lawsuit in France of indigenous rappers who made the song Fuck France, kind of like NWA would Fuck the Police, and the white Christian identity group tried to sue them, okay, which is always ironic to me, trying to sue them based on not being patriotic, I guess, or, I don't know, what was it, treasonous? They don't have the First Amendment in a similar fashion as we do in America. But, filed in 2010 and wound its way through the courts over 5 years. You know what that judge said in his ruling? In 2015, he said that whites are not native to France. Oh, comma, by the way, are not native to anywhere on the planet. I'll repeat this one more time. From 2010 to 2015, they filed a lawsuit under this group called Christian Identity, which is similar to, if you've ever heard of Identity Europa, it's like these white supremacist Christian identifying people who, again, the Ku Klux Klan is a Christian organization. Okay? These people's sensibilities were offended by these melanated, indigenous, aboriginal Frenchmen. The judge said, and I'm paraphrasing now the ruling, that there was no jurisdiction over the autonomous aboriginal people who were being sued, and the whites who were suing were not native to France. And, oh, by the way, not native to the planet.
Now that's deep,
so you
that he had a little planet situation up in there. Now that's
you may
deep.
want to go back and look at that Steely Dan piece that you talked about when you were discussing this a couple of weeks back about the Royal Scam album. And that particular person who was a white person in French Canada who was studying New Brunswick and I think the Isle of St. John or St. Germain, whatever, some saint.
Right.
And the Aboriginal, original American tribes up in that region in Canada were called the Acadians.
Yep.
And then he leaped over to this lawsuit in France, talking about the Aboriginal indigenous French people. So again, I'm only asking, with an ongoing criminal enterprise in your house, how culpable is the victim? Because what happens every day, and if you haven't seen Just Mercy yet, that's the movie out with Jamie Foxx, Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't watch
that,
but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's worse than slavery. It's worse than watching a slavery movie because this is as current as 2015. This black man was put on death row for a year before standing trial, then removed out of the system off death row by this brother, Brian Stevenson, who is the same one in the Equal Justice Initiative that went and dug up over almost 5,000 lynching sites, the dirt that they took out of the ground of our ancestral blood. The white man who was the sheriff of this town, they all felt his first and foremost responsibility was to keep them safe. Keep them safe from who?
That's probably.
This man's organization has removed 140 people off death row wrongly convicted. This particular white town, small Monroeville, I believe is the name, in Alabama, was never put on trial. This sergeant, the sheriff, was reelected 6 times after the brother was taken off death row. And the white single criminal eyewitness that they manipulated his testimony, and no one should be sent to jail or onto death row by the testimony of a single individual. That's in biblical scripture. He got out of prison after 30 years. Now, if that is not evidence to your statement that this criminal enterprise is to the benefit of them and them alone at our expense, and I yield.
All right, 832, great to hear your voice. Peace and love, brother. Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm gonna go back and pull that video and look at that information again on that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
Well, they do keep really, really good records of who they are, and they teach it to us in the churches who they are. The problem is we're not listening to what they're saying. They tell you who they are in Ephesians, the 2nd chapter. I brought this up before. They said they are the sons of perdition, and they used to do anything and everything they wanted to do. They big enough to do. And then they tell you, well, you know, the son of perdition is the children of the devil, right? And then they say we come to kill, steal, and destroy. They tell you this. But nobody's listening. They think it's, oh, hallelujah. But they tell it because they put it in. You say they're good writers, right? A recording of what they do. They write it in the book.
They record, yeah.
Yeah, they write it down.
Keep the record.
They keep good records. But our people are not listening. They're not listening. They said we came to take your covenant and give you our Jesus. But we're the kids of perdition. We're the devil's children. We haven't even talked about the grays anymore, you know, and all that kind of stuff we started talking about last week. But they are not of this planet, as you say, and therefore they came to steal, kill, and destroy. And I think Bolton, in this impeachment thing, Trump fired him because he wanted to start another world war. We're on the 4th World War already. We already had it.
Right.
So, you know.
It is what it is. And I'm again say, because I don't want us to ever lose sight of the root of this, of who is really behind this. Because I'm going to say again, the Caucasian is just the new face of the same empire. All roads lead to Rome, Greece, and I'm even going to put Germany in there. So let's be clear. Let's be clear. Because that's what got the indigenous people in this situation, sitting up trusting the same complexion, letting them in the motherfucking front door. So I ain't giving nobody a pass. I can't down the Caucasians without getting in the black devil's ass. That I will not do. Because the Caucasians only accountable for they 200 and something motherfucking fuck up of years. That's nothing. And that's why I keep telling you all, this is a spiritual blood level war.
Yeah.
You have to get into who you really are and look at whom is whom. And it's not by skin color. It's not. So, all right, so just real quick, I picked up this quote, and I don't know who I got it from, but it goes, "You will continue to suffer if you have an emotional reaction to everything that is said to you. True power is sitting back and observing everything with logic. True power is restraint. If words control you, that means everyone else can control you. Breathe and allow things to pass. I may have even gotten that from you, Brother Sean. Very good drop. So real quick, I want to get into this article, and then I do have a follow-up on Abraham Lincoln, and then back to Thomas Jefferson's ass, finishing up on him. So this article is out of The Atlantic. It came out September 2019. How Black Americans were robbed of their land. Over the course of the 20th century, Black Americans have lost approximately 12 million acres of land. All right? Now, that is grossly understated, but we're going to roll with the little 12 million they put up. This mass land dispossession, a war waged by deed of title, which has affected 98% of Black farmers, can only be called theft, says Atlantic writer Van R. Newkirk, second in a new documentary. The Scott family from Mound Bayou, Mississippi, can trace their land ownership back to 1938, when the family's agriculturally gifted patriarch began amassing more than 1,000 acres. By the late 80s, the Scots had all but lost their land entirely. What happened in those intervening years is a complex story of systematic discrimination that embolic of the experience of many Black farmers or families in America. If you look at the Scots, what the land meant to them wasn't just money. Newkirk says in the film, it was destiny. It was something to hold on to. It was a great purpose and something that held their family together through generations. So again, that's just a quick article that is promoting this documentary. This is how Black Americans were robbed of their land. So I'm going to try to see if I could get a hold of that documentary and take a listen at it and kind of give the family a synopsis of it as well. Okay, so I did want to give that follow-up. Let me get to, Purple, you already know where I'm going. Purple Pill goes, his real name was not Abe Lincoln. How many Caucasoids does one know with the name Lincoln? I know of none. Okay, so here we go with the Abe Lincoln stuff. All right. Okay, so this came off of someone else's Facebook page. I was tagged in it, so I'm not going to shout out this person's name because I don't know this person like this. But it's saying, from the state of Alabama, who was Lincoln's bloodline? So this is a document from the 1860s, state of Alabama, Executive Department, Montgomery, Alabama, December 8th, and this person literally just pasted a copy of the excerpt. Okay, so this ain't nobody typing it up. All right, so state of Alabama, Executive Department, Montgomery, Alabama, December 8, 1860. Whereas the election of Abraham Lincoln, a Black Republican, to the presidency of the United States by a purely sectional vote and by the party whose leading and publicly avowed object is the destruction of the institution of slavery as it exists in the slaveholding states. And whereas the success of the said party and the power which it now has and soon will acquire greatly endangers the peace,
interest, security, and honor of the slave-holding states, and make it necessary that prompt and efficient measures should be adopted to avoid the evils which must result from a Republican administration of the federal government. And as the interests and destiny of the slaveholding states are the same, they must naturally sympathize with each other. They, therefore, so far as it may be practicable, should consult and advise together as to what is best to be done to protect their mutual interest and honor. So I'm going to repeat this again. This is from the state of Alabama in 1860. The executive department of Montgomery, whereas the election of Abraham Lincoln, a black Republican. Now, I'm going to go back to my book, 13 Black Colonies by Brother Lee Cummings. He told y'all who Harriet Tubman was freeing. All right? He then took and told y'all. The Negro Question, Part 6. The 13 Black Colonies by Lee Cummings. And I got to find my little Harriet Tubman page. I have referenced this book so much, I literally have sticky notes. Harriet Tubman stuff starts on 147. He tells you who was on the ship Manifest with them stewards and them Rosses in them. All right? The parents of Harriet Tubman, Benjamin Ross Stewart, Harriet Ross Reeder Stewart. That's who Harriet Tubman was freeing. Okay? So you get on to page 149. And he says, the name William Stewart can be found on the convict ship Hocking Hill and the ship York. This simply proves that the Stuart royals, so that's King James them, people were being rounded up and deported into the colonies as convicts. What was their crime? They believed in the divine right of kings to rule, and they tried to restore the black Stuarts to the throne of the three kingdoms. Okay? Because he was over Scotland, UK, and I forgot the other kingdom he was
Ireland.
over. But anyway, Ireland. Okay, I didn't want to misquote. Okay, Ireland. Are you still there? Let's play a game. Conspiracy theory. What are the odds that the same name, William Henry Seward, appears as the Secretary of State in the administration of Abraham Lincoln? Think about this. Harriet Tubman Stewart rescues a man with the name William Henry Stewart in 1854, and 11 years later, this same name appears as the Secretary of State of the United States minus the T. What are the odds? And so what are the odds that in 1860, Alabama said that Abraham Lincoln, a black Republican. What are the odds that Prez O admired Lincoln, he identified with Lincoln, and swore in to that corporation as its CEO, which they call president, using Lincoln's Bible? Aren't they both mixed bloodline? None of that's a coincidence. So, okay, I just rest on that. So I just wanted to give you all an update real quick on Lincoln, because remember I said I can't prove it. I'm just only speculating that as the power from the melanated thrones started to change over, that those first seats of power that we are seeing were Caucasians were actually mulattoes. All right, so meaning they were mixed bloodline. So again, I cannot prove that. It would have to do some serious digging, and I'm sure I wouldn't even find that information because they switch up names, whatever. That's just speculation. But so there you have it. All right. So we're going to go into. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
That's a part of the Moorish teaching that Abraham Lincoln was a melanated man. They have a picture of him, and so that's why they had to kill him because they had to substitute him out.
Well, and too, it would make sense if those particular families were warring. So meaning the kingdoms are what I'm saying, those European kingdoms, and the stewards were trying to make their little move. They're like, oh, hell no. Y'all not going to come up over here and set up shop and rule over here. We done just overthrew y'all from England, Ireland, and Scotland. We done just overthrew y'all ass. So now y'all ain't finna come up over here and set up shop.
And they put a bullet in his head, just like they did that Mayan king who begged them not to kill him, and if they had to kill him, don't chop off his head. Remember that Butler's book?
Yeah. Yeah, and in this one, he also says in the Negro Question Part 6 that if you keep reading, he said that the night that Lincoln was assassinated, that there was also hits put out on that Stewart bloodline also.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence. But now let's be clear. Let's be real clear. The Stewarts still have a lot of power. Let's be very, very clear. They're just behind the scenes. That's all.
I know who they are.
So a lot of these folks that we see that are put before us, either in political office, Hollywood, I would say sports, even businesses, they tie to these bloodlines. So they are essentially getting a hookup because of their family bloodline. Mm-hmm. But at this time, it is time for their Caucasian, at that time, rather, it was time for their Caucasian relatives to rule because they had to keep up the roof that it's the Caucasians' fault. All right? So now that we're coming into a higher vibration, new realm, and the prophecy said that the power of the melanin is returning, yada, 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 you're starting to see this shift talking about how melanated people need to do this, they need to rule, the businesses, ownership need to change, la, 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 la. But the thing of it is, that's only to trick the indigenous folks to fall for the same okie doke. So meaning, we getting ready to get back on top. This time we can control. But it's the same loop. It's that same figure 8, that infinity sign that Brother 832 was talking about. Power really never changes hands, because it's the same people behind the scenes. Okay? And it will keep going with that loop until you activate your DNA to get yourself out of that loop and take your bloodline out of that loop. Because again, this is all spiritual. What we're seeing before us, the physical, the shit already done happened in the spiritual world. The things that we experience in the physical world, or the matrix, the computer simulation, the Windows 95 and below motherfucking version, is behind what already happened in the spiritual realm. So if you're not elevating and tapping into self to access those higher realms, you always going to be following an old motherfucking software program and staying in the loop. So that's not why I'm not impressed with quote, quote, melanated people getting back in power, the system gonna flip, it's gonna change. No fucks are given. That shit is over and done with. It's gone. I'm not personally willing to run on no old ass software. That's just me. Because all roads lead to Rome, Greece, Germania. All right. Okay, so we're going to get into White Trash, the 400-Year Untold History of Class in America by Nancy Eisenberg. We are on Thomas Jefferson's ass. I want to finish up with him. Okay, so Jefferson's influential survey of class as a product of topography appeared in his notes on the state of Virginia, mostly written during his governorship of Virginia in 1780 to 81. The book was not published until several years later when he was serving as the U.S. Minister of France. So that's good, Brother 832, that you brought up about France, and that judge told them to have several seats. You're not even indigenous to the land. But anyhow, okay, Jefferson had been encouraged to put his ideas to paper by a series of questions proposed by Francis Marbios, the Secretary of French Legation in Philadelphia. His notes became a kind of diplomatic intervention, offering European readers a combined defense of his home state and his new nation. Now, let's just be clear, because I want to put all of this in content. This is for the Caucasian people. Let's be clear. 90%, okay, I'm going to give you the 10%. 90% of Caucasians that hit these shores as immigrants, you were indentured servants. So meaning, coming over from Europe, you lived in poverty. So there is a 90%, I'll use the same percentage, a 90% chance that means your folks were not fluent in reading, okay? So where I am going with this, the reason I'm pointing this out, because as these quote-quote founding fathers are publishing this shit, they were not publishing it for the benefit of your fucking people. It was for that 10%. So if you're still under the illusion that your folks came over here under this fantasy island shit and that the founding fathers had your best benefit, you better wake up. All right. All right, so it's saying his notes became a kind of diplomatic intervention, offering European readers a combined defense of his home state and his new nation. All right? Notes offered a natural history of race and class. Okay, so here where the fuck shit is coming into play. Race and class replete with Jefferson's own empirical observations from facts and figures he had compiled. It was part travel narrative in the tradition of Highclere and part legal brief. He imagined the opposing counsel to be the acclaimed French naturalist George Louis. Oh yeah, we talked about him before in this book too. Who had offered up a highly unappealing portrait of the American continent as a backward place cursed with widespread degeneracy. So I told y'all that elite class over in Europe, and that's mainly including the melanated folks, but their family members, the Caucasians too, their boys and them, they didn't want to fucking come over here. It was beneath them, okay? So in notes, the only book Jefferson ever wrote, he stripped away the ugliness and replaced it with a Virginia of natural beauty and bounty. Caucasians, do you hear me? This is how this flowery motherfucking story about the Pilgrim journey, it was fabricated. The only book Jefferson ever wrote, the book's name is Notes. He stripped away the ugliness. So all of them motherfucking indentured servitude, most of the population dying from death and disease, all that shit was pretty much wiped out. All right? He stripped away that and put in Virginia of natural beauty and bounty. Here, in Jefferson's version of the New English Canon, or Canaan, that biblical word, Canaan, the continent promised unmatched resources for commercial wealth. Class was significant. The rich topography afforded a home for his cultivators of the earth, an American breed that represented the world's best hope. Buffin's work was troubling for a number of reasons. In his History Naturelle, first published in 1749, he had reduced the New World to one giant and nefarious, dismal swamp. All of America, as it were, had become North Carolina, a suffocating mixture of moisture and heat, and had produced stagnant waters, gross herbage, and mammoths of the air, produced stagnant waters, okay, I said that, which retarded the size and diverse of species. Buffin sounded at times like the colorful William Byrd, complaining of the noxious fumes in America that blocked the sun, which made it impossible to purify the soil and air. Swamp creatures multiplied in this environment, moist plants, reptile, and insects, and all animals that wallow in the mire. Domestic animals shrank in size in comparison to their European counterparts, and their flesh was less flavorful. Only Carolina's prized critters, the hog, thrived in such God-forsaken terrain. Native Americans were not just savages to Buffin, they were a constitutionally enfeebled breed, devoid of free will and activity of mind. as the forgotten stepchildren of Mother Nature, they lacked the invigorating sentinel of love and the strong desire for multiplying their species. They were cold and languid, spending their days in stupid repose, without the strong, effective bonds that united people into civilized society. Buffon had converted Indians into quasi-reptilian swamp monsters. They lurked in marshes, hunting prey, ignorant of the fate of their offspring, concerned only with the next meal or battle. The desire to reproduce, Buffon contended, was the spark of life and that the fire of genius. This essential quality was missing from their constitution, all because they languished amid a debilitating environment. I just love the way he reversed that up, because based on the earlier readings, that describes the indentured servants and the conditions that they were living in, and how they couldn't keep their birth numbers up. But, okay, the propaganda is deep. It goes way back. They just wake up overnight with the propaganda. All right, so in contesting Buffon, Jefferson had to wipe the canvas clean of the swamp monsters and paint a very different, eco-friendly picture. He conjured another America, a sublime place of endless diversity. His Blue Ridge Mountains were majestic. The Mississippi River was alive with birds and fish in a way comparable to the Nile, the birthplace of Western civilization. Native Americans existed in an uncultivated state, he admitted, yet they were endowed with a manly ardor and displayed a noble mind. America was not plagued with pathetic stocks of animal or people. On the contrary, the young continent heralded one of the great people. On the contrary, the young continent heralded one of the greatest scientific discoveries of that age, the bones of the woolly mammoth. Ranked as the largest species known to man, which according to Jefferson still roamed the forest. English and European settlers had excelled, not suffered. That rare spark of genius nurtured in Washington, Franklin, and David Rittenhouse, the Philadelphia astronomer, was solid proof to his mind of the invigorating and regenerative natural landscape.
Now, wait a minute. You just said this was 1751. You just said this was 1751, right? 1751?
49.
Oh, that's before he wrote his manuscripts. So we had woolly mammoths. So even science, and be honest with you, science.
Yeah.
Astrology.
I was shocked to read that. I'm like, wait a motherfucking minute. The woolly mammoth with that scene in the little motherfucking cartoon
that's been extinct for centuries and centuries and centuries.
Yeah, so they claim, because I think of Flintstone and them and all, the Flintstone, them days.
You just said that, right? You did say they were still in the forest.
Yeah, no, that's what Blood said, unless he was lying. Now, unless he was lying,
why would he mention it back in that day and he don't even know it? You know what I'm saying?
True that.
Wow, that is so. None of the history, nothing that they ever taught.
Yeah,
science.
they lying through they teeth. That's my grandma said, telling a bald face ass lie. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
But they say that it was dragons used in World War I. And
well, that was
that
used too.
and it's been said
But
that the Sioux Indians were dragon trainers.
Yeah.
Exactly. They came over here and used two brothers or something to help conquer us and get across the Alps with dragons, taking their British supplies over the Alps. So.
Yep. Now, in his defense, he did say the bones of the woolly mammoth.
They don't stay on top of the ground forever.
Exactly. So you would think that shit would have been just settled if that was, back in the Stone Ages per se. They so full of shit.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So Jefferson fundamentally agreed with Buffin's science. He did not abandon the Frenchman's ruling premise that the physical surroundings were crucial in cultivating races and classes of people. So I'm going to read that again. I want you all to get this. Cultivating races and classes of people. Okay? So in other words, you got to create that shit. Or the land could be either regenerated or degenerative. Buffin's theory. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
He's already cultivating it when he's talking about how flufful the Native Americans are. They don't do nothing about making their family grow. They just want to eat. I mean, how gracious can you get?
Well, yeah, they were setting up the fuckery. Because in the earlier account, that's why they couldn't get no colonies started, because those indentured servants that they brought over was like, fuck all of this. Blood, I ain't with none of this fuck shit.
Mosquitoes and heat.
Yeah, they like, I ain't trying to do none of this. We finna go in them swamps and chill. So, yeah, they started, inventing the separation of races and all of that, because I told y'all they had to invent the white race, the come up of the white race, and rewrite their story or his story to say that they were the ruling class. So they planned that shit out, okay? And those in power, meaning the melanated folks in power, allowed that shit to happen because they like, yeah, go ahead on. Plan that motherfucking shit out, because I'm going to let you be the front guy and the fall guy. Because when these Indians, Negroes, niggas wake up, they're going to be mad as fuck and they're going to take your head off. So, yeah, go ahead on. We're going to give you your motherfucking 200 and something odd years. Kick it the fuck up. Go right on ahead. Because they going to take y'all asses out. All right? Okay, so, he agreed with him, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he did not abandon the Frenchman's ruling premise that the physical surroundings were crucial in cultivating races and classes of people, or that land could either be regenerative or degenerative. Buffin's theory wasn't wrong then. His observations were incomplete. As Jefferson argued in 1785, so since you're right, Jefferson's shit was 1785, but the history naturale was 1749, where Blood was describing the land as a swamp, this, that, and the third. Okay, so Jefferson's shit came after the fact to clean up the 1749 article. Okay, so as Jefferson argued in 1785 in a letter to the Marquis, who had visited Monticello 3 years earlier, Native Americans were not were not feeble. Over time, they had developed muscles to make them fleet or foot for warfare. Euro-Americans were equally adaptable to the congenial American environment. They drew upon an inbred strength passed down from generations of ancestors who had labored in the field. Cultivation was in their blood. Jefferson was saying that they were already engaged in transforming the land and making it their own. Okay, so now I want y'all to remember that Jefferson couldn't even make his own motherfucking shit profitable. So meaning his Monticello farm and all of that, he couldn't even keep his shit up. Okay? All right, but anyhow, Jefferson's idea of topography went beyond the natural environment. He was equally concerned with human chorography, the way humans adapted to the land, exploited its fertility, and built social institutions. Husbandry, okay, and that just means farming, a man being caretaker of the land. That's all it means, okay? So even that word husband today, know what root words you're using. But anyhow, husbandry itself was a crucial stage that elevated human societies beyond the rudiments of savagery and barbarism. The American cultivator needed some safeguards. Degeneracy was certainly possible. Jefferson admitted, but not on Buffon's scale. Dangers lurked for Americans who were too close to the wilderness or for those too enamored with the commercial luxuries of the old world. Okay, so in other words, they was getting their motherfucking asses kicked on a regular. In one of his dreamier moments, and as they should, let me just stop, goddamn. Let's be motherfucking clear. Get the fuck out of here with you thinking that you deserve safety when you in somebody else's house. Fuck you and them raglass boats that you brought your stinking ass over on. So the indigenous people were supposed to take your ass for everything they could take you for. Nah, fuck you. Shit, fuck out of here with that bullshit. They didn't feel safe. God damn it. And this same that same type of behavior and thoughts as Caucasians, you all take your asses in the hood and start gentrification, and then wonder why when you get your ass whooped and people start stealing your shit because you feel entitled. You get what the fuck you get. Now, I totally don't agree with indigenous folks not taking care of their shit. Absolutely. I don't fucking agree with that either. I get some they shit on a regular basis on that. Because the hood don't have to, quote, quote, look like the hood. Take care of where the fuck you lay your head. But in the meantime, goddammit, two Caucasians that move into these neighborhoods, now, them particular folks have been barbecuing, minding their motherfucking business, however they run things, playing their motherfucking music at a certain level, and you want to come in with your fuck shit.
You know.
And then when you get your head busted wide open and folks take your shit, your motherfucking feelings get hurt. No, you deserve exactly what the fuck you getting. It is what it is. You on their fucking turf. But I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
I think when he's talking about that husbandry, he's talking about the domestication of stock and locking them up and putting them in their little barns and all that kind of stuff, whereas the natives didn't do that. Everything was free, and they only, and he said it in another sentence, they only worried about food. So we only used the stuff as needed. Nobody was chained up, locked up in barns and all that kind of stuff. And yet they thought it was savagery for them to go around in the wilderness trying to find food when they could have put it in husbandry or in padlocks, in cages and all that kind of stuff like they were doing. I think that's what he's talking about.
And that could be a part of it, but early on the definition was made clear what husbandry was, and it was the tilling of the land by men. But yes, that absolutely
his sections.
Yeah, that absolutely could be a part of it also, sis, of what you're saying. Okay, so let me see. Shit, I done lost my place. Okay, they needed some safeguards, blah, 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 blah. Dangers lurked, blah, 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 blah. Commercial luxuries of the old world. Okay, so remember when I say old world, that's some black nobilities in the old world. Okay? All right. So, in one of his dreamier moments in 1785, he wrote of the hope that America would be like China, completely cut off from European commerce and manufacturing and other entanglements. We should thus avoid all wars, and all our citizens would be husbandmen. He wished for a middle zone between the two extremes. Jefferson was not above social engineering, believing that manners could be cultivated. His scheme for the Northwest Territory built upon his reforms for Virginia. As the chair of 2 congressional committees, he assumed a leading role in shaping how the land would be distributed and governed. In his report on the Land Ordinance of 1784, he devised a grid plan that would have divided the land into perfectly formed rectangles, offering individual lots the basic unit of family farm. He wanted the area divided into 10 potential states and gave them names, and not just any names. Sylvania, Shirosnis, Asapia, Metropotamia, Palestia, to name a few. He chose fanciful names with pseudo-classical meaning, suggesting that in this act of state building, Congress was engaged in the regeneration or rebirth of Western civilization. He insisted that no hereditary titles be recognized in the Northwest. And after 1800, slavery and involuntary servitude would be permanently banned there. Following in the footsteps of Oglethorpe, Jefferson envisioned a free labor zone. So let's be clear. I keep pointing out that those founding fathers did not want slavery, because at the time, the Caucasians were enslaved, but they renamed the shit Indentured Servants. They didn't want no Africans being brought over, because then that devalued the purpose of having a labor force. So the white folks from getting paid a salary so they could start coming up out of poverty and moving into middle class. So let's be fucking clear. When folks want to talk about slavery and who's whom, you better check your motherfucking research. Because they didn't give a fuck about Caucasians, melanated, none of that. This was set up for the purpose of the crown. And they boys them. All right.
Hey, sis.
What? I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the average indentured servant, like you said, didn't even know how to read. So the Constitution was not written for the common man. That was written amongst the corporations. That's so they'd have an agreement that they wouldn't step on each other's toes. You know, they call themselves putting things in place where you ain't gonna go fuck with my shit.
Exactly.
It's mine. You work that area. That's my area. You don't come over here and tell me what the fuck to do. I ain't gonna come over there and fuck with you. You know, that's just like how they going through this whole impeachment thing, and they keep trying to bring up the point about separation of powers because the House is trying to tell the Senate how to run the trial. They trying to call all the damn shots. In fact, they basically trying to do away with the Constitution. Oh, but remember old buddy said that you change the seal as many times as necessary?
That's what he said in that Georgia charter. He said, change it up the way you need to change it up. But he was also very clear who was to get the benefits. It was him and his people forever and forever and forever, ever.
So that means everybody just benefiting right now.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
So that means that the people that still benefit right now is of that blood, of those bloodlines.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So people that have this fantasy in their mind because of their skin complexion that they got it in, you being fooled as well. Because if your family ain't on that, they're not wealthy, you scraping to try to survive, boo, it didn't apply to you either. So they had to create the constructs of race.
Yeah, when you don't belong here, you have to put something in history that places you here. That's all they've been trying to do is find a way to place themselves here.
Absolutely. And the sad part, and the sad part about it, again, is that folks that are running around here with that attitude that they're a true American and telling somebody else where to go back and all of that fuckery, basically. You're being bamboozled.
My son asked me to read this to you, this etymology of regulate. It's from the early 15th century, adjust by rule, control. From late Latin, regulatus, past participle of regular, to control by rule, direct. From Latin, regula, rule, straight piece of wood. From pi root reg, move in a straight line with derivatives meaning to direct in a straight line, thus to lead, rule, meaning to govern by restriction, is from the 1620s. So when they say they regulate, they saying we're ruling this stuff.
Yep.
So we have been regulated.
Right. The regulations. Exactly.
Mhm.
And people really think this shit was set up for their benefit. It's sad.
Rules and regulations ain't got nothing to do with natural law.
Nothing to do with natural law whatsoever. And I don't even know how I got. Oh, that's how I got on that path, because I was looking up the oldest buildings in the city, and I got getting into the different dynasties. And you know, I'm going to put together another series where we go a little deeper into that. But bottom line is, this shit goes back a long way. It goes back a very, very long way. And as long as people got their head up their asses playing these fucked up games, thinking they know and they don't, they'll be caught in that loop from a spiritual perspective. And you are spiritually enslaving yourself and your bloodline to perpetually keep in that state in the physical realm. So keep playing these Window 95 and lower games.
And
all right.
He also said straight line. That it.
Mhm. Yep.
But see, the feminine is curved like an S.
Yep.
Serpentine,
Absolutely.
like the wave.
But he also wanted to put the
Ebb and
fields
flow.
in a straight line. They want to control everything. That's how they farm nowadays, in straight lines.
Right, which is not sustainable, in which they strip the land of its natural resources. Because
Right.
even, over in Europe, they were starving. They were literally starving because that particular system, it strips things because it's not harmony and not in harmony with nature.
And they
were
they're
cutting
doing the
down
same thing
so
here
many
about
trees.
starving people out, because they're doing the same thing.
Exactly. But they had cut down so many trees in Europe that King James had to issue an order to stop them from cutting down the trees. So, people can keep bullshitting themselves with this fuckery. And the fuckery that you fooling yourself with is, 200 and some odd years old, and that ain't even the truth?
That's funny.
So you keep on with the fuck shit.
400 years a slave, don't forget that.
Exactly. Right.
Oh, that's
Black
so
people
crazy.
was for the black, quote, people, or Negro, were in slavery for 400 years, but yet you had indentured servants sent over by black nobility. I'm fucking confused. I'm really fucking confused. So keep playing them race games if you want to. That's the fuck on you. All right. So, what was Jefferson up to? All right. So, just the last sentence. Jefferson, following in the footsteps of Oglethorpe, Jefferson envisioned a free labor zone. Okay. So, meaning he wasn't with slavery. What was Jefferson up to? One goal was to forestall the growth of manufacturing, which in notes he described as a canker on the body politic. The grid system resembled rows of garden plots. There you go, sis. Something that would have made sense to his fellow naturalist, J. Hector St. John, author of Letters from American Farmer, 1782. A French-born migrant who spent years in New York's Hudson Valley and a devout devotee of Buffon. what is his? Because I don't want to say that French name. What I say his first name was? Hector. Is that his first name? Yeah, Hector celebrated an intermediary space, which created a separate, distinct class. Okay, now they just keep bringing up this class. So as you people that's using 200-something years worth of false stories as your point of reference, all I keep hearing about is class and making that dough, paying back to the crown. All right, men are like plants. Uh-huh.
A Frenchman named Hector?
Naturalist. John Hector St. John. Yeah.
Like that.
Well, he must have added the Hector in.
Yeah, like Hector and the measurements.
Yeah, and he has a French last name. I'm far from being fluent in French, so I'm not trying to sound that out. So that's why I use this little first name.
Right, no, but I'm just tripping on Hector with a Frenchman with the name Hector. Ain't that Spanish? Ain't that a Spanish name, Hector?
Yeah, you would think so. But you know, Louis was married to royalty of Spain, right? So you did have them doing business back and forth, and they were warring with each other because Louis and the king of Spain really went back and forth fighting over territory. And what happened, Louis got desperate because when he built that Versailles, his ass pretty much had bankrupted his nation in addition to all of the perpetual forever and ever wars he was waging. And so he took a chance of sending folks over to the Americas for the purpose of setting up new colonies to pay back to the crown. But he was literally in a race with the Spanish king to keep gaining more territories. Oh, I see you, Purple Pill. Somebody in the chat room clowning. Oh, well, that's on them. Yes. Purple Pill said, at one point, France and England had the same king. Makes sense to me, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, I'll have to do some research, but Louis was bloodline related to the one of the thrones in England. Okay. All right. Okay, so men are like plants. He believed, and the seeds of classes could be planted and cultivated. The typical class of cultivator whom he imagined filled this middle zone owned a 371-acre farm. They were not tenants or squatters. All right? So, shout out to the author of this book. She explained to us what the tenants and the squatters were and who are, what it means and who they are, or were rather. They were not the tenants or squatters, nor were they overseas merchants importing English manufactured goods. Hector, perfect farmer, turned the fields into a classroom, placing his son on a plow, having him feel the up and down rhythm as it moved through the soil. Jefferson, too, wanted Americans tied to the land, with deep roots to their offsprings to future generations. Agrarian perfection would germinate a love of the soil, no less than a love of one's heirs, instilled amor, patriae, a love of country. He was not promoting a free-willing society or the rapid commercial accumulation of wealth, nor was he advocating a class system marked by untethered social mobility. Jefferson's husbandmen were of a new kind of birthright station, passed from parent to parent, children to children. All right, so just with that fact, just with that last sentence, this is where what we're seeing today, people feeling that they are entitled to the land when their bloodline was not indigenous to this land. All right, so again, I told you the founding fathers created the narrative of who the Pilgrims were. It was not the truth. Okay, so what, okay, I'm going to have to catch up with y'all, Purple Pill and a Left Lane, because y'all going into France was our ally. Okay, so I'll have to catch up and see what y'all come up with. All right. Jefferson idealized farmers were not rustics either. They sold their produce in the marketplace, albeit on a smaller scale. There was room enough for an elite gentry class and gentleman farmers like himself. So then, there again, he talking about he don't care for class, but that shit sure comes up quite a bit. Using the latest husbandry methods, improving the soil, the wealthier farmers could instruct others, the less skilled beneath them. Education and emulation were necessary to instill virtue. American farmers required an apprenticeship of a sort, which was only possible if they were planted in the right kind of engineering environment. The Northwest Territory served that purpose as a free labor zone that cultivated middling aspirations and was safely decontaminated of any noxious influences. The relics of noble titles were gone. Slavery was prohibited, and commercial impulses were subdued. Right? So let me take my little sip right quick. Now this is Jefferson. The relics of noble titles were gone. Slavery was prohibited. Oh, okay then. Okay. Which slavery was prohibited? And why? You mean that indentured servant slavery? Because he wanted to come up of the Caucasian Europeans to come out of poverty for them to start earning a living wage, to start outnumbering those quote, quote, black, tawny folks? Oh, okay then. Okay. In one of his most ambitious plans for reform, sketched out in 1789, Jefferson thought of importing German immigrants who were known to be superior laborers and to place them on adjacent 50-acre plots opposite slaves who were brought up as others in the habits of foresight and property. At the same time, he contemplated the recruitment of Germans just to improve the caliber of Virginia's poor white farmers. The Anglo-Virginians were supposed to intermingle with the learned from the better German farmers around them. Okay. What you saying, Purple Pill? France. Okay. All right. I still didn't catch it. Purple Pill. France was our ally. Oh, damn. Thanks. See, I be reading and I don't be seeing the board. Okay, 4 minutes until overtime. If you are in the chat room and you want to continue to join us, you have to dial in. So that's 929-477-3858, 929-477-3858. If you're not able to join us, I do want to thank you all so much for dropping in. Elef Lane, GD Thompson 42, Purple Pill, Scotty Saturn, Woke Sister, and I see we have somebody surveillancing us tonight. Vor Pal Bite 3. Okay, I was kind of checking in on and off. I saw your little comment. That's interesting that you chose to join in and you found the information so important that you had to come and put something on it. So, whatever. But if you all want to join us in the chat room, you have to dial 929-477-3858 to continue. You have less than 2 minutes. But if not, thank you all so much. Thank you for the jewels that you dropped in the chat room. It is thoroughly, thoroughly appreciated. Okay, let me Purple Pill. Sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean, while I'm trying to get...
No, I was just saying indeed. Just, hollering at the chat.
Yeah, all right. Not first president in Freemason. Yeah. You a mess, Purple Pill. Israeli operatives in the house. I mean, hey, that's on them. They free to join in. It is what it is, because I'm not into none of those constricts. So, you gotta come with something different than that, than the race card with me. You truly, truly do. So, alrighty then. Damn it. That's the only thing, y'all. Let me go back. I had lost my damn place. Yeah, okay. I'm in the right place now. All right, so of course, Jefferson was not always honest about the class system that surrounded him. He preferred to project an America of tranquil, permanent felicity than confront the unpleasant reality that persisted. His most extreme statements describing the United States as the land of the unparalleled opportunities usually came as responses to criticism. As he had done in Notes, he saw himself as a public sentry, the intellectual defender of the reputation of a rising young country. He had a lot to defend in the aftermath of the American Revolution. The war years had taken their toll. A post-war depression created widespread suffering. States had acquired hefty debts, which caused legislators to increase taxes to levels far higher, sometimes 3 to 4 times higher than before the war. Most of these tax dollars ended up in the hands of speculators in the state government securities that had been sold to cover war expenses. So I'll pause. So now, what has changed? Don't they do that crap today?
Yep.
Sell their debt and bonds and securities. Mm-hmm. So y'all want to try to convince why that this shit is great? No, you convince yourself of it.
Only thing different today in the bonds is it's us that they have as bonds, because we are worth more than probably any of the indentured people that came over here. So they put our stuff on the market for everything we buy.
Right. But you can still also look at the indentured servants.
And they have some
Yeah, they may not have been officially putting it on paper, but it was the same thing. If you are extracting labor.
Yeah. Well, actually, it should be the same thing because they have birth certificates and social security numbers and driver's licenses and all that sort of stuff that's sold on the stock exchange. So it's still the same.
But
even though
that's
different.
Today. Again, go back to that Georgia charter. He said change it up however you need to change it up to survive. But it's the same system.
Same stuff.
It's the same system. And it's laughable for people, again, that want to form a goddamn gang over 200 and something years of false fucking history. It wasn't set up for your benefit.
Yeah. Nope, it wasn't.
Okay. Okay, so, many soldiers were forced to sell their scrape and land bounties to speculators at a fraction of the value. Wealth was being transferred upward from the tattered pockets of poor families and soldiers to the bulging purses of the nouveau rich, of wartime speculators and creditors, a new class of money men. So again, nothing has changed. Every time there is a systematic collapse, you have the same group of people benefiting because it's a transfer of the little wealth that the quote populace has built up back into the same hands. But yet people still want to throw up their gang signs, your political parties, your constructs of race, your constructs of class, and you ain't in their group, boo. You're just not. All right. The officers of the Continental Army had staged a mutiny in Newborough, New York in 1783, threatening to disband if Congress did not grant them full pensions. During the same year, Army officers organized the Society of Cincinnati, a fraternal organization accused of laying the foundation for a hereditary the aristocrats. The society initially granted hereditary privileges to the sons of veteran officers and awarded medals as badges of membership in the highly selective club. Jefferson I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
I want to mention something that John Bolton said. He said that he was afraid that Trump was catering to the aristocrats. And I thought to myself, who are they? So they're around somewhere, aren't they?
Exactly. I'm sure he's not going to name names.
I know he's not.
And I'm sure his people are a part. I'll put it this way. His people may not be a part of the aristocrats, but you damn sure believe his people are one of their boys now. So meaning they get to benefit. So they're in the club.
Mm-hmm.
So it's laughable to me that people really think because they pick a gang side, a political party side, a religion, that you're going to win. Oh, okay then. Okay. You will be able to survive. You will be able to be semi-comfortable. But make no mistake about it, you ain't in the club, boo. Because if you were, you would understand the game. Okay. All right. Had hereditary privileges. Jefferson prohibition on titles in the Northwest Territory was not so subtle rebuke of society's flagrant pretensions. It also explains why he banned badges previously worn by vagrants in Virginia. While Jefferson was more than willing to attack pseudo-aristocrats, he wore rose-colored glasses when it came to acknowledging class turmoil rising from below. British papers had published reports of mutiny and riots in the United States, which Jefferson dismissed as inconsequential. In 1784, he declared in a published response that not a single beggar could be seen from one end to another of the continent. Poverty and class strife simply did not exist. He wrote this just a year before Virginia bill to round up vagabonds finally passed. Okay? So nothing's changed. Homelessness still widely across this country or this corporation, as we saw a huge wealth transfer with the 2008 economy crash surrounding housing. Okay, it's the same thing. This is the same script played over and over again. Jefferson had a different opinion. Jefferson had a different opinion in 1786 when Shays' Rebellion broke out across western Massachusetts. Rising taxes and mounting debt among middle class and poor farmers had fueled a class war. Captain Daniel Shays had served in the Continental Army, and whether or not it was an accurate description, he called the Generalissimo of the uprising. Shays had acquired over 200 acres of land only to see half of his holdings lost during the post-war depression. Okay, so again, you thinking you all up in the club because you was given a little title, and you thinking you in and you all that in a motherfucking bag of chips, and all you got to do is work hard, this, that, and the third, but then when your shit gets taken from you that wasn't your shit to begin with, oh, now you got a problem. Oh, okay then. His supporters closed down courts that were auctioning off farms and homes, forming an ad hoc army that attempted to take over the armory in Springfield. Similar protests took place as far south as Virginia. Writing from France, Jefferson did not deny the existence of the rebellion, but treated it as a naturally reoccurring, even therapeutic phenomenon. In an odd twist, he calculated that such political tempests would most likely happen every 13 years. A little rebellion was analogous to storms in the physical environment. temporary jarring, it would settle back down, leaving society's core principles refreshed. Jefferson's language betrayed him. He envisioned rebellion as a process of regeneration, removed from human agency and, most important, devoid of class anger. For her part, Abigail Adams had little sympathy for the Shayites. Ferment and commutation, she curtly observed in a letter to Jefferson, had brought forth an abundance of rubbish. Others agreed. Captain Shay was described in newspaper as an ignorant leader, a pathetic man living in sty. His fellow insurgents nothing more than brutes. Critics compared them to the ragamuffins of the earth, lowly vagabonds who owed more than they were worth. Okay, so let's be clear. This is Caucasian on Caucasian battle, all right? Because they have set up some of their boys now with some motherfucking land, work the land, pay your taxes, this, that, and the third. So some of them was on the come up, and the poor farmers were working, getting their little wages. Then when these states got into debt, because bottom line, as we told y'all when we read that Georgia charter, the quote quote elite, or those thrones, those European thrones, they don't give a damn. Bitch better have my money. They don't give a fuck about none of your problems, none of that. So the states who were issued those charters from the European crowns, they had to come up with that motherfucking tax money. So what? We just went through a war. We don't care about none of that. We got to raise these taxes because we got to pay. We got to pay old boy and them. They ain't playing around with us. All right? So the Caucasians started like, no, fuck all that. That weren't in the club, they started rebelling. All right. So to the naturalists, Jeffersons, they belonged to the sedimentary debris unearthed and let them loose across the human terrain. So in other words, this chick, Abigail, is like, look, Jefferson, that's your motherfucking peeps that you done set up in the come up over in America, and you letting them run amok, as they say. You don't have control over the situation. With y'all broke, dirty, dusty asses. Pretty much, that's what she is saying. In the same year, he wrote lengthy comments on an article entitled Ites Unis, meant for publication in the famed encyclopedia. After summarizing the history of the Society of Cincinnati, Jefferson offered a curious explanation for the convulsion it caused. No distinction between man and man has ever been known in America, he insisted. Among private individuals, the poorest laborer stood on equal ground with the wealthiest millionaire, and the poor man was favored when the rights of the rich and the poor were contested in the courts. Whether the shoemaker or the artisan was elected to office, he instantly commanded respect and obedience. Okay, so in other words, pay attention to what's happening. Jefferson is trying to make sure that his nation that he wants to build up with the Caucasian people stays intact. So now he's coming into the ideology, hey, it don't matter if you are a poor farmer, you just came up out of indentured servitude. You're just as good as that wealthy person, okay? So he's filling their head with the fuck shit to get them back in line and get them in order and keep the numbers on his side. With a final flourish, Jefferson declared that the distinction by birth or badge, Americans, had no more ideal than they had existence in the moon or planet. Though Jefferson sold Europeans on American as a classless society, no such thing existed in Virginia or anywhere else. In his home state, a poor laborer or shoemaker had no chance of getting elected to office. Jefferson wrote knowing that similar members of the lower class did not even receive a rudimentary education. So I already told y'all, all of this shit that these founding fathers were writing, it was not for the benefit of the common people, because the common people, that particular poor white farmers, indentured servants, were not literate. Virginia courts meticulously served the interests of the rich planters, and wasn't slavery a distinction between man and man. Furthermore, Jefferson's freehold requirements for voting created odious distinctions between landowners and poor merchants and artisans, denying the latter class voting rights. One has to wonder at Jefferson's blatant distortion, his desire to paint the society of Cincinnati as so otherworldly to Americans that only extraterrestrials could appreciate it. He failed to recognize that many elite Americans were fond of the trappings of aristocrats. Under the administration of George Washington, the Federalists established a Republican court with rules of protocol, displays of genteel etiquette, and formally weekly levees, visit by invitation only, extended to the national elite to meet people with the president. Martha Washington held her drawing room salons, and around the president emerged a cult of adulation that imitated certain aspects of royal pageantry. Powerful families in Philadelphia established dynasty marriages with European peers. Elizabeth Patterson, the daughter of a wealthy Baltimore merchant, became an international celebrity when in 1803 she married the brother of Napoleon Bonaparte. At the time, President Jefferson wrote his minister in France to inform Napoleon that his sibling had married into a family whose social ranks was with the first of the United States. Okay, so we keep telling y'all that all of these people are intertwined, interconnected. All right, in 1789, when Vice President John Adams proposed before the U.S. Senate that the president require a more daunting title, such as magistrate, he accepted that political distinction needed to be dressed up in pomp and circumstance. Unlike Franklin, Adams felt that the passion for distinction was the most powerful driving human force, above hunger and fear. Americans not only scrambled to get ahead, they needed someone to look down on. Okay, and you know, it is such a shame that people in general with low-ass fucking self-esteem, self-worth, low-ass vibration, that you don't know how to elevate yourself. So you have to keep buying into the illusion of classism. It's really fucking sad and disgusting. But all right, there must be one, indeed, who is the last and lowest of the human species, Adam concluded, and even he needed his dog to love him. He also sarcastically acknowledged that while Jefferson and his brand of Republicans might disdain titles and stations, now isn't that interesting? Y'all see the fuck shit? I'm gonna read that again, and I want y'all to put it in context to what is going on. He also sarcastically acknowledged that while Jefferson and his brand of Republicans might disdain titles and stations, they had no intentions of disturbing private forms of authority. The subordinate positions of wives, children, servants, and slaves were left safely intact. So the reason I say that, pay attention, because isn't today the Republican Party being accused of being all socialites and social status and all of that? So I'm saying all that to say, those of you that are playing these political games, that's on y'all. All they did was switch shit up on you. But go ahead, sis.
One of the things about Trump is they really hate him because he's kind of crass. And right. I can see the dynamics. They want him to act with more chivalry or like it's a heritage to be royal or something. And that's the Democrats want him to do that. And you can see it. They can't stand the way he talks to them. He can't stand the way he acts. And they are just having a fit. And I just be rolling. Because he is what he is, and this pretense that they had established back in those 1800s or 1700s is what they have going on. And you can see it. Yep. So, let's be clear. By this time, you have the Caucasians setting up their come up, but they fucking out the gate fighting each other. But let's be clear. They better have them damn taxes and shit together back to the crown. That they ass better have made sure was taken care of. All right. Okay. Jefferson was not above his own brand of political stagecraft. Right? So they are telling you out the gate that this shit is staged. It's theater. Unlike Washington and Adams, who rode in fancy carriages to their inauguration ceremonies, Jefferson rode on his own horseback to the president's house after delivering his inaugural address. He dispersed with the levees and greeted diplomats and guests at the executive mansion while wearing an old vest and worn slippers. He was known for his casual attire, not while he was in France, but upon his return. Okay, so in other words, when he was in France, he was kicking it up. But when he was on stage playing his role, all of a sudden he identifies with the common folk. And, I'm going to wear just this regular worn clothing and slippers, right? So, again, nothing has changed from then to today. They bamboozling the populace. His version of rustic Republican simplicity reflected his experience in Virginia, where the gentry lived in grand houses like Monticello and yet dressed down when commingling with the mass of small farmers during elections. So let me take a sip. So please help me to understand what the fuck has changed.
The date.
keep telling y'all it's the same script. But yet you want to get a fucking attitude when people point that out and they say, get the fuck out my face with that bullshit about it. Go ahead.
You know, when Jefferson and those guys went over there to England, they ran around with the gentry. They were part of that Hellfire Club, and they were going through the countryside kidnapping and raping young women. He was part of that Hellfire group over there, and nobody would have guessed that the so-called founding father was that wild and crazy. But they even sacrificed girls. They did all kinds of stuff in that group. Got them pregnant and then gave the parents a little bit of money to keep them quiet. That's what they were doing over there. He was riding around with the English gentry and stuff, and the French or whatever.
Okay, so again, what has changed?
Nothing. They're still doing it. Like you got that Epstein stuff. It's the same difference.
Right. So nothing has changed. Oh, okay. So a feudalist, he particularly despised the Virginian and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Marshall, was known for his slovenly appearance. Two men's politics could not have been more different, but they dressed in the same style. Elite Virginians had a strong distaste for the nouveau rich and believed that those with wealth, land, family names, and reputation didn't need to show off. Some observers saw Jefferson as playing a role. I can't fucking make this shit up. Some observers saw Jefferson as playing a role, appearing effectively plain in his dress. In this climate, eliminating external signs of class did not necessarily erode expectations of deference. Dressing down just as easily masked social distinctions. The conservative art of emulation, assuming that the head of state had something to teach others, was very much a part of Jefferson's philosophy. Indeed, he allowed his sheep to graze on the lawn of the president's house, letting everyone know that a gentleman farmer occupied the highest office of the land. So I hope you all are listening up. This is one of the quote-quote founding fathers playing his motherfucking role. They're like he was for the people. He was this deep philosopher, all of that. Jefferson may have hated artificial distinctions and titles, but he was quite comfortable asserting natural differences. With nature as his guide, he felt there was no reason not to rank humans on the order of animal breeds. And note, he wrote with calm assurance, the circumstance of superior beauty is thought worthy of attention in the propagation of our horses, dogs, and other animals. With emphasis, he added, why not in that of man? Careful breeding was one solution to slavery. In his revisal of laws, Jefferson calculated how a black slave could turn white. Once a slave possessed 7/8 white blood, the taint of his or her African past were deemed gone. Oh, that's interesting. In 1813, he explained to a young Massachusetts lawyer how the formula worked. It is understood in natural history that a fourth cross of one race of animal gives an issue of equivalent for all sensible purposes to the original bloods. This was the same formula Jefferson used in breeding an original stock of merino sheep. William Byrd had earlier talked about blanching Native Americans through intermarrying with Europeans. As Buffon put it, breeding back to the original stock meant reconstituting, I cannot fucking make this shit up, y'all, blacks as white people. So, you trying to sit up here and tell me that they purposely wanted to mix? Thomas Jefferson purposely wanted to mix because supposedly and allegedly it was to make the tawny blacks and reds white.
Wasn't he the one that had the woman hid away and had a lot of babies by her?
Yeah, Sally.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of melanated people.
Right, but my point is, peace and love, a left lane, peace and love to you and Purple Peel and Scotty Saturn, peace and love to all of you all. Thanks so much. But my thing is, so sis, if you're so scientific, which gene dominates the most?
You got to ask me that question. I know that question. Answer.
So, like they say in the South, they have been fucking lying all the way down the line.
Well, that's Darwinism and Mendelssohn with his peas and all that kind of stuff. So I think that they came out of that time too. So he was probably on that.
But Darwinism and all of that, they were, just talking about
survival of the fittest.
Mating, exactly, and mating with the same race. But
right.
Jefferson saying mate with the tawny, black, brown, and red, because that's going to turn them white.
Well, a taste of honey is worse than none at all, remember?
Or is it the case that we know it's the case that the black, tawny, red, and brown were the majority
of the people? Mm-hmm. That's what he said. Oh, that's Franklin said that.
Yeah, that's what Franklin said. So now who's fucking fooling who in all of this? You gonna reconstitute blacks as white people? How the fuck do that happen?
I'm gonna bite you in the butt.
Well, it still hasn't happened.
Nope. They trying.
It still ain't happened. Because supposedly, if Caucasians are the majority, why the fuck is the black, the brown, and the tawny still around? So the shit was all reversed and some bullshit out the gate. But that was interesting. I never would have guessed that he was saying y'all need to mix and go on sit the fuck down somewhere. I'm straight shocked on that. I'm not even finna sit up here and lie. All right, we only got 2 more pages on his butt. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
The other old buddy was telling them to marry the indigenous women.
Yeah, you better go on and marry them black, tawny, red, and Indians. But yet people had an audacity to believe 200 and something odd years of lies.
Yeah,
okay.
But I mean, even if you, let's bring off into the mud flood community. The pictures that they show where there was obvious mud and everything,
Right.
And all these places where they're saying that all these events took place.
Right.
I mean, he said on that one last video with the Steely Dan thing on it about how it was a bunch of orphans that was brought over here.
Absolutely. Caucasian orphans.
They went from having Civil War technology to the Wild Wild West, wood huts, log cabins, this, that, and the other. Then all these marble buildings and stuff that they can't even make today.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's difficult to actually know what happened. I mean, those mud flood pictures, they don't seem doctored or anything. I mean, they're showing everything contrary to what we've been taught. And it's just, because, I mean, just the way that they look on those pictures, having come over here. I mean, it was orphans and stuff sent over here and slaves. I mean, they weren't equipped to fight.
Exactly.
That's why they got sent over here as goddamn slaves. Then all of a sudden they got over here and they could scrap and this, that, or the other, and they could overthrow the government, but they couldn't overthrow it at home when there was more of them.
Exactly. It doesn't add up. It's just not logical. It's just not.
And then while we were being overtaken, all the indigenous people were being taken over at the same time.
Exactly.
How did they amass the numbers that quickly to have that many people to take down the entire indigenous population?
Absolutely. It couldn't have been that many Caucasians to do that because did not Franklin. Exactly. Because Franklin said it himself. That everywhere he looks, shit, he's tired of seeing tawny and blacks and shit. So it's not possible.
And then remember earlier when you was saying about how he was saying the land was barren and swampy and well, if that was actually the case. I believe that ties into what I guess it was the Hopi legend that said once the first white man set his foot on land over here, it's all bad, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if the land all of a sudden just started turning that way, that was based upon their low frequency arrival.
Right. And then coming in, because it was bad enough when the tawny black Europeans were coming over here and the indigenous folk letting them chop down trees and shit and carve out cities in that Romanesque style, Romanesque/Greek style. That was bad enough right there because that was already in violation of natural law. It was already in violation.
Well, you know, that comes with that question, what actually did happen? Because the mammoths was here, the woolly mammoths were here, and then all of a sudden, nothing. giant trees were here. Everything.
I think it was extinction level events because remember, from my point of view, when they started coming over here messing with the ecosystem, chopping down trees, slaughtering the animals for profit, that started messing with the vibration, started lowering and lowering.
So people were giant, now they're short? Yeah, all that kind of stuff, huh?
Yeah, so it just, the frequency kept lowering, getting lower, getting lower, getting lower. And then the indigenous people started warring with each other and then warring with the tawny / black Europeans. And so the nobility people were like, you know what? We sick of these damn indigenous tawny people. These motherfuckers ain't giving up. So we gonna have to change up the game.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring in our boys now. They're Caucasian family members / mulatto family members. Let's let them set up shop in that shit and keep it going. Matter of fact, let's just take out the rest of these melanated kingdoms. Let's just switch this shit up. And let's just put that Caucasian face on it. And that's what happened.
But it had to take more than them when their numbers were low.
I'm not talking about the white folks that are saying that.
Mm.
The white folks didn't have power to do that.
No. No, they didn't.
All they were doing is following in the footsteps of the previous colonizer.
That's all they were doing. That's all they were doing. They were following in the same steps. They're doing a piss poor job at it because they can't even hold their kingdom together. Their shit fell pretty fast. But those that set them up knew that it would fall fast.
Yeah, but they didn't think that they was going to be caught.
No, because the construct of color and race, that's going to save us. But did you forget about the fact that Mother Earth has the last motherfucking word? And that she purges? And she purge who the fuck she choose to purge? You forget about that fact? So it don't matter if any of the melanated people wake up. She gonna do what the fuck she gonna do anyway, and rightfully so. She gotta wipe off every motherfucking entity, insect on her. She can do it. And start anew or not start anew. Now that's just on the physical. Because if you are a eternal being, that means you're able to transcend to other realms.
Maybe that's what happened.
So you wouldn't even be so concerned about the physical, because you enter and understand who you are, and that you help set up these constructs of the physical with your energy / consciousness. But folks have remained or fell in love, and I have to give shout out to you, Brother Sean. Folks are fucking in love with the physical motherfucking illusion. They're in love with this low vibrational Windows 95 and lower bullshit. And the program has run its course. It's over. You're trying to run a program on some shit that's not compatible. All right, so let me finish up because y'all only got 2 more pages for Jefferson. Then we can get into Andrew Jackson's funky ass next week. Jefferson's friend, William, I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
While we're talking about Jefferson, he may have actually tied it back to the mud flood thing. You know, talking about how things were swampy and muddy and then how they had to do this, that, to kill the land.
Well, you know what? Let's think about that because, oh shit, you right. Because he said in 1813, he explained to a young Massachusetts lawyer how the formula worked. Sis, didn't that comment come through in 1811?
1811, 1812, yeah.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
And they said it was extinction, a level event, which probably caused earthquakes, mud floods, and stuff. So I think you're right, Brother Sean. We can't make this shit up. Really, we can't. Jefferson's friend, William Short, took Buffin's idea quite seriously. In a 1798 letter to Jefferson, he noted how blacks in the United States were becoming lighter. He admitted that this was partly due to mixing with whites, but he felt that climate mattered as well. In posing a possible scenario, he came close to endorsing Buffin's idea of regeneration. Suppose a black family transplanted to Sweden, may we not presume that in a sufficient number of succeeding generations, the color would disappear from mere effect of the climate. That's a negative. That shit ain't happened yet. All right, so it was more than a theory. Jefferson was practicing race mixing under his own roof. Go on, girl, now tell it now, goddamn. Fathering several children with his quadroon slave, Sally Hemings. What is striking about this relationship is Hemings' pedigree. Her mother, Elizabeth, was half white, and her father was John Wells Jefferson, English-born father-in-law. Child, we can't make this motherfucking shit up. Jefferson's children with Sally were the 4th cross, making them perfect candidates for emancipation and passing for white. 2 of the children, Beverly and Harriet, ran away from Monticello and lived as free whites, while Madison and Easton were set free in Jefferson's will and later moved to Ohio. Easton's offspring also intermarried with whites. On his plantation, Jefferson had little difficulty in breeding slaves as chattel. He counted slave children in cold terms as increased and considered his female slaves to be more valuable than males. Men might raise food, but it was quickly consumed. Women produced children that could be sold as stock. So I told you this shit ain't new. He did not shrink from saying, I consider the labor of a breeding woman as no object, and any child raised every 2 years is more profitable than a crop of the best laboring man. Women were meant to breed for Providence has made our interests and duties concise perfectly. Right? And then we wonder why the frequency of the planet is low. The impulse to breed played an equally significant part in Jefferson's agrarian republic. His trust of the people rested on his belief that a new kind of leadership class was bound to emerge in the United States. He laid out this theory in a series of letters he exchanged with John Adams in 1813. It was Adams who opened the friendly debate by mentioning the long human history of upholding the idea of the well-born. To prove his point, he quoted the ancient Greek poet, philosopher Stagnatus. When we want to purchase horses, asses, or rams, we inquire for the well-born, and everyone wishes to procure for the good breeds. A good man does not care to marry a shrew, the daughter of a shrew, unless they give him a great deal of money with her. His contention was that men marrying for money more than the desire for producing healthy offspring. You know, for women to be treated so horribly, they seem to be the only profitable commodities, you stinking motherfuckers. Adam returned to this favorite theory that men are driven by vanity and ambition. Put 100 men in a room, he conjectured, and soon 25 will use their superior talent, their cunning, to take control. This impulse would inevitably lead all kinds of men to divide into classes, as he was confident that the United States had not evolved beyond being ruled by this passion for distinction. By the 18th century, well-born was synonymous with the landed aristocrat. Adams reminded Jefferson of the powerful families in Massachusetts and Virginia who were bound together through kinship and property. He observed that he and Jefferson's were products of the desire to marry well. Jefferson's lineage on his mother's side linked him to one of the first families of Virginia, the Randolph and Abigail Adams by pedigree was a Quincy. Okay, so I'm just gonna willing to bet that Jefferson probably had a little bit of that melanin in his bloodline already. Jefferson was unconvinced. He interpreted Stagnatus, or well, I'm just going to call him Stagnatus, differently, believing that the poet was making an ethical argument. He actually chastising humanity for marrying old, ugly, and vicious for reasons of wealth and ambition, while they more sensibly bred domestic animals to improve the race. As Jefferson saw it, humans were animals guided by overriding impulses, as Buffon said, of sexual desires. Nature made sure that humans would propagate the race, implanting in them lust mixed with love through the ostrum. The ostrum was the state of female animals in heat and provided the capacity for sexual arousal in notes. He wrote that love was the peculiar ostrum of poets. Sexual desire in this way would produce what Jefferson called a fortuitous, trying to get through his fuck shit. Literally, we got 2 pages. Concourse of breeding. Let me see. I'm trying to scroll through this. All right, we're going to do last word. I was trying to get through his fuck shit. We literally got 2 pages before we get to Andrew Jackson. Sis, you have any last words? We have 5 minutes.
I see that a lot of things have been shaped by the founding fathers' ideology, and that is the same today as it was yesterday, and that's not too encouraging
Absolutely. Absolutely. Brother Sean, you have any last words for the family?
Yeah. What's encouraging, though, is y'all are here.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
But we must have fell through that rabbit hole.
No, what I mean by y'all are here, I mean with us on Truth Uncompromised.
That's true.
So, change is at hand. In fact, it's already been done.
Indeed.
Just get your popcorn and enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the show. So, yeah, family, I want to thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead. Absolutely.
And don't lose
Do not lose sight of self. Absolutely. Do not lose sight of self, and cherish your consciousness. Cherish yourself and who you are. So I do want to thank everybody, the family, for hanging in there with us. We will be back next week. We're going to pick up again where we left off. We'll be getting into Andrew Jackson. So thank you, Brother Sean and Sis Sandra, for hanging in there with me as well as my co-host. And we'll be back next week, family. We're going to rock out with Donny Hathaway. Someday we'll all be